Chapter 47:30. Outside Tangua's courtyard, there was a patch of peppermint. The people who worked in the field relied on the peppermint water to cool down and quench their thirst in the summer. Tangua picked some peppermint leaves outside the courtyard and returned to the kitchen to wash them. She was boiling water in the pot. The fire was quite big, it would boil in about 10 minutes. She stuffed the washed peppermint leaves into a large enamel cup. Is there any rock candy in the system space? Anything that could be stored in the system space must be good stuff. Even if it was just a small piece of rock candy, the taste was superior. I'll help you find it. In less than half a minute, the system helped Tangua find the rock candy. Tangua took out a few pieces and threw them into the enamel cup. 10 minutes later, the water boiled. Tangua scooped the boiling water into the enamel cup and put the rest into the thermos kettle. After the family got off work, there was no need to boil water anymore. When she was done, she covered the porcelain cup with a towel and held it in her hand. Then, she took her things and went to the field. She often went to the family. Today, when they went to the construction site, they told her where they were. She knew the place. In about 10 minutes, she arrived at her destination. The moment she appeared, someone reminded Tang Yu and Tang Shi. Your little sister is here. Look, isn't that your little sister? She's even holding an enamel cup. She must be here to bring you water. We were just saying that we were almost out of water when your sister came. No wonder you two brothers dote on your sister the most. The young man in the village looked envious. Why don't I have such a sister? Tang Yu laughed. You're not so lucky to be your little sister. Can you take care of your little sister with your little body? Can you do the work of two people alone? Come on. Hey, I'm just saying. Hurry up, your little sister is here. Tang Yu walked out, and Tang Shi also walked out. At the same time, they came to Tangua. The moment they saw Tangua, both of them smiled. The joy on their faces was not fake. The sun is so bright. Why are you running around? Why aren't you wearing a straw hat? Tang Shi's tone sounded like he was blaming her, but in reality, every word he said was filled with love. He wiped the straw hat with a bit of cloth inside his clothes and conveniently covered Tangua's head with it. He then wiped his hands and pinched Tangua's face. What if you get tanned? It wasn't easy for your second brother to raise you so well. Tang Yu pushed Tang Shi away. Get out of the way. Everyone raised our sister together. Don't take all the credit. Big brother, second brother, I brought you some mint water, Tangua said with a smile. It's almost cold. You should be out of water soon, right? She expected that they would come back to get water before long. The two brothers were still fighting for credit, but when they heard Tangua's words, they immediately beamed with joy and laughed foolishly. You're really a good girl. As expected of second brother's good sister. Tang Shi touched Tangua's head. But at this time, his hand could only touch the straw hat on her head, but he was very satisfied. Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and get the water. Tang Yu interrupted Tang Shi. It's so hot. Go home and stay. Don't get sunburned. Tangua shook her head this time. Big brother, I'll stay here for a while. It's so stuffy in the house. I came out to get some fresh air. Then find a shady place. Tang Yu's gaze looked behind Tangua. There was a big tree there. Go under the tree over there. The top. Chapter 47:31. Okay. Tangua put the straw hat on Tang Shi's head. Tang Shi chuckled and gave Tang Yu a provocative look. Tang Yu said, childish. Are you jealous? Ha! Tang Shi was proud. Tang Yu took the enamel cup and walked away. After 2 steps, he stopped and turned to Tangshur. He took a big sip from the enamel cup and said, "It's delicious. Thirst-quenching. Sweet. Cool. Brother, leave some for me. This is from my sister. You're too much." When Tangshur grabbed the enamel cup, he found that half of the water was gone. He shouted, "You're too much. You drank half of it in one gulp. Rude. Can't you be a little more polite? You'll scare your sister if you gulp it down." Tangua's eyes were smiling. She found a place under the shade of a tree and sat down. She looked at the busy villagers in the field. Although the villagers would say that she was lazy behind her back, her family didn't mind. And if Tangshur and Tang Yu heard it, they would definitely be angry. Those people only dared to say a few words behind her back. They didn't dare to offend her in front of her, mainly because they were afraid of being beaten. Later, they gradually got used to it and fewer people talked about it. "Where's Yao Wenwen?" She looked around but couldn't find Yao Wenwen. Yao Wenwen must be nearby, but most of the people in the village were working here. It was impossible for her to see everyone at a glance. The system quickly scanned the field and quickly found Yao Wenwen's location. It told Tangua Yao Wenwen's location, but Tangua didn't go there immediately. The weather was so hot. It was really uncomfortable to be in the sun. There was no power to cultivate in this world. Nigong could be cultivated in every world. She just came here and didn't have time to cultivate. So she couldn't use Nigong to avoid the heat. Her body was indeed delicate. It wouldn't be good if she got sick from the sun. She found some vines around and planned to weave a sun umbrella with vines and leaves. The people working in the field knew she was here, but they were not interested in talking. Work was the most important thing. Whether they could eat or not depended on how much they could do. They didn't have time to chat. 20 minutes later, Tangguo weaved a sun umbrella made of branches, vines, and leaves. She held the sun umbrella and walked in the direction of Yao Wenwen. Just as she took 2 steps, someone noticed her movement. After a few glances, the people in the field began to talk. The Tang family's little sister is holding a leaf umbrella. She doesn't look like much. She's someone who went to high school after all. She's smart and skillful. I'm envious. Even without that umbrella, I don't think it's a big deal to walk around in the sun. Dream on. Between Shanghe village and Xiahe village, who is as lucky as Tangua? Shanghe village and Xiahe village were actually next to each other. Even the fields might cross. Sometimes, they would bump into each other when they were working. The people in the 2 villages were more familiar with each other. Yao Wenwen also heard people talking about family Tang girl. When she heard those words, she felt a little sad. Why wasn't she born in that kind of family? She followed the crowd's gaze and looked up at Tangua. Sure enough, she saw Tangua holding a sun umbrella made of tree vines and leaves. Tangua was fair and tender. She had never done manual labor. She was simply a beautiful scenery in the field. Yao Wenwen's heart was very sour. She said casually, "What's the use of raising her well? She still has to get married." Chapter 47-32. If she doesn't do anything in her parents' house, she'll have a hard time in her in-laws' house, Yao Wenwen continued. In my opinion, if her family pampers her like this, it'll harm her sooner or later. A few young ladies around them nodded in agreement. That's true. Didn't she graduate from high school? She's already 17 and will be able to get married soon. I heard that someone in the village likes her. However, after hearing that she doesn't work at home, doesn't know anything, and isn't in good health, they gave up on the idea, Luli said softly. Yao Wenwen felt even more confident after hearing that. So, if her family is capable, they'll take care of her for the rest of her life. Otherwise, who would dare to marry a woman who doesn't do anything? But I'm still envious. Yao Xianxian looked at Tang Gui enviously. Looking at her glowing white face, she became even more envious. If my family is willing to take care of me for the rest of my life and live like this every day, I can stay single for the rest of my life. It's not even dark yet, but you're already dreaming. Yao Wenwen retorted. Yao Xianxian was her biological sister. Get to work. If mom sees you later, she'll scold you again. Although she said that, Yao Wenwen's movements were not fast. Who liked to work in the fields? Who was willing to work in the fields with their backs facing the sky? Yao Xianxian was right. If she could have the same fate as Tang Gui, she would not want to get married either. But was it possible? Women would get married. If she didn't get married in this village, she would definitely be laughed at by others. However, it was not her turn to be laughed at. Her family could only keep her for a year at most. She would be 19 this year. Her parents were already thinking about it and were even discussing finding her a well-to-do family. They said it was for her own good, but they just wanted to get more benefits for their younger brother. Sister, aren't you envious? Yao Xianxian asked softly. Look at her, there's no mud on her at all. Yao Wenwen looked up again. Tang Gui's body was really clean. Suddenly, she felt a little inferior standing in front of the other party. Her body bent down a little. Wow, she's still eating melon seeds. Yao Xianxian tugged at Yao Wenwen's arm, her face full of envy. At this moment, Luli said, I heard that Aunt Yufin was afraid that she would be bored at home, so she specially cooked it for her to pass the time at home. Get to work. Yao Wenwen didn't want to listen to this. Hearing this made her uncomfortable. She couldn't help but cut harder. Why was fate so unfair? She believed that her appearance was not inferior to Tang Gui's. If she could live in the family Tang like her, her appearance would not be inferior. As she worked, Yao Wenwen got closer and closer to Tang Gui. When she finished the task in front of her, Tang Gui was still squatting by the roadside. She could feel Tang Gui's gaze even without raising her head. Do you want some sunflower seeds? A very pleasant voice entered her ears. Yao Wenwen subconsciously raised her head and saw Tang Gui smile. Yao Wenwen's lips curled into a smile. No, melon seeds make you heady and thirsty. I can't help but drink water. I don't like them either. Several rejections showed that she didn't want to eat them at all. She was especially unhappy. Couldn't she see that she was working? She even asked if she wanted to eat melon seeds. Was there something wrong with her brain? Tang Gui sensed Yao Wenwen's displeasure and had no intention of leaving. I think it's delicious. System, if this was the world of cultivation, Yao Wenwen might have swung her sickle at the host's head on the spot. Those words were really asking for a beating. Peak. Chapter 47-33. Yao Wenwen was already annoyed, and she didn't want to talk to Tang Gui. Tang Gui knew that Yao Wenwen usually looked quiet because the Yao family suppressed their daughter. Yao Wenwen couldn't do anything at home, let alone show her true nature. Even the Yao family didn't know what Yao Wenwen was thinking. In fact, she was a little smart. She looked very hardworking, but in fact, she didn't do much. She just gave people the feeling that she was hardworking and down to earth. This was her disguise. When she came to the family, no one suppressed her. Her personality and desires were constantly exposed. Sis, don't you like eating sunflower seeds the most? Yao Xuanchuan's words almost made Yao Wenwen want to hide in a hole. At home, the sunflower seeds are all mine. We can't even have a taste. Do you want to eat? Tang Gui said to Yao Xianxian and stretched out a friendly hand. There was a handful of sunflower seeds in her hand. I'll share some with you. My mom fried a lot for me. Yao Xianxian didn't refuse. Thank you. Wait for me. I'll cut off the seeds in front of me. Okay, hurry up. I'll leave it for you. Yao Wenwen wasn't a good person, but Yao Xianxian was quite good. Although she was a bit arrogant, she was actually quite honest. She was a bit silly. She was often tricked by Yao Wenwen, but she still helped Yao Wenwen count money. Yao Xianxian quickly finished the chores in front of her and ran to Tang Guo with a sickle. Tang Guo grabbed a handful of sunflower seeds and gave it to her. Here, eat. Do you still have water? If not, I'll share some with you. I still have some. Yao Xianxian said with a red face and found the enamel cup next to her. Tang Guo looked at the little bit and took a sip. She generously poured half of the water in her canteen to Yao Xianxian. The canteen was filled with either mint water or plain water. There was a string on the canteen that could be hung around the neck. It was a birthday gift that Tang Yu bought for her in the city. She knew that she wouldn't go back immediately, so she brought a bunch of sunflower seeds and put the canteen on. It was summer, and they couldn't go anywhere without water, so they had to bring it along. Yao Xianxian looked at the clear water in the porcelain cup and then looked at the melon seeds in the pocket of her clothes. She was so touched that she almost cried. Her eyes were a little red. Tang Guo, thank you. I haven't eaten melon seeds for a long time. You're welcome. After all, we were once classmates. Yao Xianxian thought about it. They were indeed classmates in primary school. After she finished primary school, she did not go back to school. She was not as lucky as Tang Guo to be able to study until high school. How could her family spend money on her? You have a good memory. Tang Guo smiled. Aren't my grades pretty good too? Yes, yes, yes. You were the first in class, unlike me, who was always at the bottom. Yao Xianxian quickly nodded. You were the class monitor at that time. Yeah. You always come over to collect my homework. Yao Xianxian thought of something very scary. But I do my homework every morning at school. There was a lot of work at home that she didn't have time to do. The two chatted like this, eating sunflower seeds and drinking water as if they were old friends for many years. The moment she saw Yao Xianxian, Tang Guo decided to be friends with her. She was doing well. If Yao Wenwen didn't pay attention to her, the other party wouldn't know. But if there was a Yao Xianxian, she would definitely reveal this matter. As for the thing she gave to Yao Xianxian, it was to repay her for helping to pass on the message. She believed that Yao Xianxian would definitely share her daily life with Yao Wenwen in a very envious tone. The Summit. Chapter 47-34. This child was honest. She would answer whatever Yao Wenwen asked. This child didn't hold a grudge. She would forget who was nice to her. Yao Wenwen was resting at the side. She heard Tang Guo and Yao Xianxian chatting and laughing from time to time. She felt it was very harsh. Yao Xianxian, it's time to work. There's still a lot of work over there. Yao Wenwen shouted, if you don't get enough work points today, let's see if Mom will scold you when we go back. Yao Xianxian almost finished the melon seeds in her hand and drank half of the water. She didn't want to delay anymore. Tang Guo, thank you. I'm going to work. I envy you so much. When Yao Xianxian said this, her eyes were clear. It was pure envy. She knew she couldn't have such a life, so she could only say it. She felt that Tang Guo was quite good. She wasn't as bad as others said. She had such a life. Others should be envious. They should be the same as her. They just didn't say it. Okay, go ahead. When you're not busy, come and play with me. Yao Xianxian looked at Tanggua's umbrella. Your leaf umbrella is so beautiful. How did you make it? Can you teach me when you're free? Of course. Tanggua found that Yao Wenwen's face was about to turn green. She was in a good mood and was more kind to Yao Xianxian. She felt that there would be more opportunities in the future if she gave Yao Xianxian some pointers. With Yao Xuanxuan's down-to-earth and hard-working personality, she definitely wouldn't have a bad life. Yao Wenwen would be jealous to death. Then it's a deal. When I'm not busy, I'll come and learn from you. The leaf umbrella was beautiful. She couldn't have a life like Tanggua's. It wasn't too much to ask for a leaf umbrella, right? Yao Xianxian waved the sickle happily and walked quickly to another field. She bent down and worked very energetically. After a day of work, Tanggua followed Tangshi home. The chimney in the kitchen was emitting green smoke. Chen Yufan was cooking. Tanggua went to the kitchen and called Chen Yufan. Then she helped them get water. This was something the original owner would do. Actually, she wasn't as lazy as she thought. She would take the initiative to do the work that she could do at home. The people in her family wouldn't let her do anything that she didn't need to do. My sister is clever with her hands. She's the smartest girl in the village. Tang Shi admired the leaf umbrella made by Tanggua. Everyone in the village knew that Tanggua had made a leaf umbrella, and many people were discussing it. Tang Yu agreed, after all, she's our sister. Chen Yufan came out to call the three siblings to eat. When she heard their conversation, she couldn't help but roll her eyes. However, the words that came out of her mouth were very strange. No matter what, they are all my daughters. How bad can they be? As for those who don't know, it's nothing more than jealousy in their stomachs. In the face of the whole family's flattery, Tanggua was also a little embarrassed. This family's filter was too heavy. Let's eat. Chen Yufan had cooked 4 eggs, so her family was considered to be a good family in the village. These 2 years of relaxation, the hard-working Chen Yufan didn't go to the fields much, so she raised more chickens. Every household did the same, and no one would say anything. She knew in her heart that it was fine as long as there were fewer chickens than the village heads. When the hen grew up, she would wait to lay eggs. The whole family ate eggs every day, so it was enough. While eating, Chen Yufan remembered that someone was talking about matchmaking for her son today. Boss, you're 22 years old this year. Your life is getting better and better. Everyone can clearly feel that your life is getting better. Mom will find someone to matchmake for you. Peak. Chapter 47:35. If you delay any longer, the girl might think there's something wrong with you. Tang Yu thought for a while. Okay, Mom. Help me arrange it. Boss, what kind of girl do you like? Give me a request. I'll talk to the matchmaker another day. Tang Yu, someone pretty. She doesn't have to be prettier than your sister. Half as pretty will do. Tanggua, I knew it. Tang Shi almost burst out laughing. Brother, among the girls in the nearby villages, which one is better than our sister? You're dreaming. If she has a good foundation, it's okay to marry her and raise her. As long as she's not bad, she can live a good life. Tang Yu said, I can do the work of several people. In the future, she can help Mom at home. She doesn't have to go out to be exposed to the elements. Oh, now you know how to dote on your wife. Chen Yufan said sourly, but still agreed. Okay, Mom will keep an eye out for you. Tang Yu took after his father. When Father Tang was still alive, she didn't suffer much. But after Father Tang passed away, she was really tired for a few years. At the same time, at the Yao family's dining table, Father Yao and Mother Yao were also discussing Yao Wenwen's marriage. The two of them mentioned to Yao Wenwen that someone came to propose marriage today. Yao Wenwen could only remain silent. Anyway, she couldn't make the decision. Today was really not a good day for her. Now, when she closed her eyes, she could think of Tang Guo and Yao Xianxian happily eating melon seeds. Yao Xianxian didn't seem to notice this. She was tired today and kept eating. Father Yao, we must ask the matchmaker to recommend a good one. Of course. With our Wenwen's face, the family can't be too bad. Mother Yao said, if they don't have a good family background, it's impossible to marry our Wenwen. There are so many boys in the village who want to marry our Wenwen. Yao Wenwen was beautiful and good at work. She had a good reputation and was very popular in the village. When she was 17, someone came to talk about it. But Father Yao and Mother Yao didn't agree. They planned to stay for 2 more years to earn more work points for the family. If she got married, she would belong to another family. It was too much of a loss for them to raise her. At night, Yao Wenwen tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. She only closed her eyes when dawn approached. After closing his eyes for a while, he hurriedly put on his clothes and got up. His complexion was not good, and his head was a little dizzy. Today, she woke up late and was scolded by Yao Wenwen's mother. When she went out with her tools, Yao Wenwen stepped on something and slipped. She hit the back of her head and fainted. Sis! Yao Xianxian was in front. When she heard the commotion behind her, she quickly ran over. Over at the Yao family side, there was a commotion. Tang Guo didn't get up in the morning. The original owner was used to sleeping in. She thought it was a good habit. System, host, you don't know how to make progress. Do you really not plan to lead your family to prosperity? I'll just be responsible for enjoying this family. They know me too well, especially my second brother. He's a shrewd person. There's nothing much to do. Let's wait for another 2 years. By then, I'll help second brother find some business opportunities and give him some pointers. System, you won't even let go of your own brother. Are you waiting for your brother to become rich so that he can raise you, a piece of trash? How can you say that, little Tongzi? You're too arrogant. System, sob sob sob. Why don't you go find your big cutie to play? Anyway, I have nothing to do for now. Where can I find him? Who knows where he is? Is he like a headless fly? Peek. Chapter 4736. System, I don't know who said that in the previous world. See you in the next life. Host, does your conscience hurt? No conscience. System, are you sure you don't want to find him? I scanned the nearby villages and got the information of the good-looking young men who are suitable for marriage. Do you want to take a look? Do you want to change your name to Matchmaker System? No, I need an official number. The system rejected. It had its own stubbornness. It wanted to wait for the boss of the Spacetime Bureau to come back and let it officially join the Bureau. Many of the people in the system home were its underlings. It had helped them a lot. When the boss of the Spacetime Bureau came back, he would definitely give it some face. What matchmaker system? It was definitely not proper. It was like a pirated version. I'll sleep for a while more. You can go and play with your underlings. System, alright, I'll let it mourn for that guy for a second. It's better for it to appear automatically. The host was so lazy. How could it go and find him? Didn't it already know? It was such a happy life. It had a mother and 2 brothers who loved it. If that guy didn't appear, the host wouldn't be lacking anything. TSK, TSK, TSK. What a pitiful guy. I sympathized with him for a second. Tang Guo woke up close to noon. After she woke up, she helped Qin Yufan wash the vegetables. After Qin Yufan finished cooking, she took the initiative to send it to her two brothers. It would take half an hour to go back and forth. Therefore, she planned to bring her share over to eat. The three of you have a good relationship. It's okay to eat together. Your brothers didn't dote on you for nothing. Qin Yufan was very satisfied with the current situation. Her life was getting better and better. Her three children had a good relationship. This was what she wanted to see the most. Tang Guo brought the food to the two brothers. After the shock, the two brothers were filled with joy. They even walked with the wind. They even shouted to the people around them that their sister had brought them food. For lunch, Qin Yufan usually cooked until they were full. She didn't use any good ingredients. After all, they were eating in front of everyone. If they ate well, it was easy to make others jealous. If others were jealous, it was easy to get into trouble. If they wanted to eat good food, of course, it was only at night. The three siblings sat together and ate. The others were envious. There were many people who sent food over. Usually, the person who didn't work in the fields would cook and deliver the food. Because some of the fields were quite far away, it took a long time to go back and forth and eat. With someone delivering food to him, he could save time on walking and work more. Tang Guo didn't find Yao Xianxian in the crowd. Big brother, second brother, why don't I see the Yao sisters? Are you familiar with them? Tang Shi asked. He just asked casually, thinking that Tang Guo and they were good friends. Of course, he knew the people in the village, but he was not very familiar with them. I'm closer to Yao Xianxian, Tang Guo replied. But I didn't see her. Did she come today? I'm not sure. Tang Yu said, I didn't pay attention to that. Tang Shi, I know. Something happened to the Yao family. Tang Guo was surprised. Did something happen? She recalled that the Yao family should be fine at this time. Yao Wenwen hit the back of her head and is unconscious. Tang Shi saw that the two of them were curious and explained, I heard that when we went out this morning, the village doctor went over. I don't know how the situation is. Previously, I heard the people close to the Yao family discussing it. At that time, there was quite a commotion. Oh, I've been working all morning. I didn't stop. Tang Yu explained. Yesterday, Qin Yufan mentioned that she was going to tell him about his wife. He was also a little excited, so he was very energetic and worked especially hard. Peak. Chapter 47-37. In the future, other than treating his mother and sister well, he also had to treat his wife well. He had to work hard, so he didn't care about anything else. Yao Xianxian should be back in the afternoon. Work can't be delayed. We'll lose a lot in half a day, Tang Shi said to Tang Guo. Guo can ask about the situation then. He already remembered that his sister was close to Yao Xianxian, but she was a stranger to Yao Wenwen. When his sister heard that something happened to Yao Wenwen, she didn't have any reaction, which meant that she really wasn't familiar with her. Naturally, Yao Wenwen was also excluded from his list of familiar faces. Tang Guo didn't know that Tang Shi was imagining so many things. She made up her mind to come over in the afternoon to see what exactly happened to the Yao family. She didn't remember this happening. In the afternoon, Tang Guo came over with a big porcelain cup of mint water. She still had her water bottle around her neck, and this time, it was also filled with mint water. The system already told her that Yao Xianxian was here, but Yao Wenwen wasn't. She fell and hurt her head, so she definitely couldn't go to work today. She handed the porcelain cup to her two brothers and went to find Yao Xianxian. Why didn't you come in the morning? Tang Guo squatted beside Yao Xianxian. I heard that something happened to your family. Yao Xianxian didn't stop. My sister fell this morning and fainted. She scared me to death. Ah, what happened? There was a stone at the door. My younger brother threw it there, and my sister accidentally stepped on it. Luckily, she woke up and is fine. She should be able to go to work tomorrow. Yao Xianxian answered, but she was muttering in her heart. When her sister woke up, she was startled. She didn't know if she became stupid from the fall. She was also laughing strangely in the room. She didn't know what was going on. Tangua didn't ask anymore. When Yao Xianxian was resting, she gave her some melon seeds and some mint water. This made Yao Xianxian very touched. She couldn't help but tell Tangua about her worries. At this moment, only the two of them were under the shade of the tree, and no one came to listen. I'm a little worried that my sister might become stupid from the fall. Tangua, what's wrong? Ever since my sister woke up, she has been leaning against the bed and giggling. Her gaze is very strange. Yao Xianxian tried hard to recall what she had seen. She doesn't look like my sister anymore. I hope she'll be fine in 2 days. Tangguo felt strange. After hearing Yao Xuanchuan's words, she had already sent the system to the Yao family to investigate the situation. Not long after, the system's voice sounded in her ears, "Host, that Yao Wenwen should have been reborn. Now she's the only one in the Yao family. She's mumbling in her room, saying that she doesn't want to marry that unlucky guy Tang Yu. She wants to marry the future richest man in the province." The future richest man in the province. Tang Guo was speechless. Are all reborn people this confident? Host, you don't say. With Yao Xuanchuan's face, if you strike first and gain the upper hand, you might really succeed. Who will be the richest man in the province in the future? Could it be the one I know from my memory? The man that Tang Guo was talking about was the man that Jiang Qian married in this world. He Qi. What kind of person was He Qi? There was very little information in her memory. There was no evaluation, mainly because there was no information, and she didn't know his background. He Qi, from Xiahe village. The system told Tangua the information about He Qi. Just now, I went to the He family and gathered some information about He Qi in Xiahe village. He's a loafer. Just like the host, he never goes to the fields. He's lazy and only wakes up in the afternoon. Tangua, is this how you compare them? The Peak. Chapter 4738. Alright, it's my fault, my dear host. The system continued to talk about He Qi. He Qi is really a loafer. He only knows how to eat. He's already 20 years old and relies on his parents and 3 sisters to support him. Even though his family background is not bad, no girl likes him. His parents are very worried about this. With He Qi's appearance, no one wants to marry him. So, how did he become the richest man? Tang Guo was puzzled. Do you think he's really a good-for-nothing and not a wolf in sheep's clothing? At least that's what I've heard so far. The specifics still need to be observed. He Qi just asked his parents for money and went to the city. I've already covered the city to see what he's going to do. He's definitely going to buy delicious food or cigarettes. The system said, he doesn't seem to have the potential to become the richest man, unless there's a big change. Tangua didn't pay much attention to it. He Qi might become rich, so it was hard to say. Yao Xianxian wanted to marry into the He family, but she might not be able to live the life she wanted. In fact, some people were so happy because they had worked hard. Others only saw the glory of others and didn't know the story behind it. For example, the female lead Jiang Qian married He Qi and He Qi became the richest man in the future. She guessed that it must have something to do with Jiang Qian. Success wasn't a coincidence. If Yao Wenwen were to marry He Qi, it would be hard to say. Damn, my dear host, my eyes are burning. The system's voice made Tang Guo come back to her senses. What's wrong? What dirty things did He Chi do? The system said, I want to wash my eyes. I saw something I shouldn't have. You're just a system. It should be fine. No, I was originally a pure and clean system. Now, I've been polluted by He Chi, the system whined and continued. He Chi took the money and found a prostitute. He's hiding in a small house and doing shameful things. Tang Guo was silent. Then don't look. Yao Wenwen was reborn. She knew that He Chi would become rich, so she should take action immediately and try to marry He Chi before the female lead Zhang Qian. The next day, Yao Wenwen did not come to work. Tang Guo asked Yao Xianxian. Yao Xianxian, my sister said she has a headache. Maybe she really hit her head. She won't be able to come to work these few days. I see. Tang Guo didn't stay there for too long because the system told her that Yao Wenwen had left for the neighboring village. Tang Guo planned to meet Yao Wenwen. She just wanted to have a look and didn't want to do anything. The two met at the entrance of the village. The moment Yao Wenwen saw Tang Guo, her eyes were filled with hatred. Tang Guo, this despicable sister-in-law. Yao Wenwen quickly retracted her gaze. Her heart was filled with joy. In this life, she would not marry that trash Tang Yu. The family was a wolf's den. There was no place for her at all. She wanted to marry He Chi and win He Chi's heart as soon as possible. In the future, she would be the wife of the richest man in the province. As for this little family Tang, she would teach them a lesson in the future. In her previous life, they couldn't do anything to her. In this life, they wouldn't have a good life either. In her previous life, after she became the lover of the big boss, she understood that only when she had absolute power, she could trample these ants to death. Now, she didn't want to deal with the family Tang. She didn't want to ruin her reputation and it would be difficult for her to marry into the He family. I heard from Yao Xianxian that you hit your head. Are you all right now? Tang Guo asked. She was still eating sunflower seeds, as if she couldn't see Yao Wenwen's unhappy gaze. Yao Wenwen smiled and looked proud. I'm all right now. Peek. Chapter 47-39. Yao Wenwen, where are you going? Yao Wenwen was impatient. Of course, she wouldn't tell Tang Guo the truth. Just walking around. Getting some fresh air. I'll go first. Yao Wenwen didn't want to argue with Tang Guo for the time being. Anyway, she wouldn't marry into the family Tang now. Thinking of He Chi, she thought of Zhang Qian. She had to admit that Zhang Qian was prettier than her. She had just graduated from high school. Before Zhang Qian's father got into an accident, she didn't have the chance to work. Her face and hands were probably still tender. When He Chi saw Zhang Qian, he would definitely be tempted. No, she had to think of a way to prevent Zhang Qian from marrying He Chi. She remembered that Zhang Qian was desperate because of her family's difficulties. She was desperate because of the He family's betrothal gift. In her previous life, she was jealous of Tang Guo and Zhang Qian. How could they have a better life than her? At this time, Zhang Qian's family should be at their wits' end. Why not let Zhang Qian marry Tang Yu and let Zhang Qian be bullied by her sister-in-law in the family Tang? Tang Guo also stood in the same place silently. Yao Wenwen should be unscrupulous in marrying He Chi at this time. She probably wanted to seduce He Chi. She didn't go with her. She just came to see Yao Wenwen to see what she was thinking. Looking at Yao Wenwen's arrogant face, she wasn't worried anymore. Yao Wenwen always wanted to rely on others to get benefits. She was digging her own grave. How's the He family's environment? Tang Guo looked at Yao Wenwen's back and asked the system. System, everyone in the He family treats He Qi as the apple of their eye. His parents and his 3 sisters are all praising him to the heavens. The He sisters are all married. However, the 3 sisters are married in the same village. They are very close and see each other every day. Although I don't know how He Qi got rich, according to the current situation of the He family, if Yao Wenwen really marries him, she will suffer a lot. The He sisters dote on He Qi, but they won't tolerate their sister-in-law being lazy. Father He and Mother He were probably the same. Yao Wenwen wants to wait for He Qi to make a fortune, so she must endure the humiliation for a while. She might even obediently work for the He family. After Tang Guo's analysis, she felt that Yao Wenwen's choice was really wonderful. She ignored Yao Wenwen and returned home. She planned to ask Chen Yufin about her brother's marriage proposal. She wanted to check it out. Before she reached home, she saw smoke coming out of the chimney. Her mother was cooking again. She ran into the kitchen. Chen Yufin saw her and said, "It's such a hot day. Why are you in such a hurry? If you sweat, you'll catch a cold." "Mom, have you found a suitable match for Big Brother?" Chen Yufin didn't think much about Tang Guo's question. She just thought that Tang Guo was curious. "Not yet. I just mentioned it to the matchmaker. It will take a few days at least. Your brother still wants a good-looking one. He's so picky. I also want a good-looking sister-in-law." Chen Yufin rolled her eyes. "Got it. I'll find a good-looking one for your brother." She felt that her son wasn't bad. He was strong and capable. There was nothing wrong with finding a good-looking one. However, at this time, other than the city girls, which girl didn't work in the fields? How good-looking could she be? She looked at Tang Guo sitting there and thought that her daughter was well-raised. Who knew which boy would benefit in the future? Chen Yufin felt sad. She couldn't bear to see her daughter suffer. In the future, she must keep her eyes open. The Peak. Chapter 47-40. She would look for a son-in-law based on the standards of her 2 sons. He would definitely dote on her daughter. After putting herself in her son's shoes, Chen Yufin did not have any thoughts about her sons doting on their wives in the future. Which family's daughter was not a treasure at home? "Mom, if you find someone suitable, you have to bring me along," Tang Guo said. "I want to help Big Brother." Chen Yufin agreed. "Okay, I'll bring you along." Chen Yufin had her own considerations about this. If she brought her daughter along, the other party would see that her daughter was fair and tender, so he should have some idea of what to do. If they could accept it, everyone would be happy. If they could not accept it, they should give up on the idea of marriage as soon as possible to avoid any conflicts in the future. She didn't want to find a fiendish daughter-in-law who didn't like her daughter and would cause trouble at home. Thinking of Tang Guo, Chen Yufin could not help but think of the future. "Guo, have you thought about what you will do in the future?" Chen Yufin was not in a hurry because Tang Guo's grades were very good. After graduation, her teacher secretly revealed to her that the college entrance examination might be reinstated. Tang Guo told the news to her family. Everyone agreed that Tang Guo was still young and could wait for 2 years. "Mom, what you mean is, if that thing doesn't work out?" Chen Yufin said it vaguely because this matter was revealed by Tang Guo's teacher. No one else talked about it because they were afraid that it would cause trouble if they were accidentally heard. Tang Guo actually did not want to take the college entrance examination. She had to take the college entrance examination in many worlds. In this life, she wanted to be more lazy. She did not want to leave her hometown. She only wanted to stay in the village and wait for her brothers to become successful. Then, she would wait for the female lead to come back and lead the village to prosperity. "Mom, why don't I go to school to be a teacher?" Tangwa said. The village is small. There should be a shortage of teachers. She went to the county town to study in high school. The probability of her going to high school at this time was very high. Most of her peers in the village went to primary school. Those who could go to junior high school could be counted on one hand, let alone her who went to high school. Yao Xianxian, for example, graduated from primary school. Yao Wenwen was better than Yao Xianxian. She went to junior high school, but she only went to the field in the second year. The female lead of Xiahe village, Jiang Qian, just graduated from high school. However, they were not in the same class. Shenghe village and Xiahe village did not have many high school students. As for the small village mentioned by Tangwa, it's a primary school in a few neighboring villages. There are only 2 teachers in the school, but they are all at the high school level. Teaching 2 students is not a problem. In this life, she wanted to live a peaceful life. In the future, the Tang family would focus on the village, so she naturally did not want to go out. A village with a female lead was destined to be extraordinary. The system silently ridiculed. A village with a big host must not be ordinary, right? Only a ghost would believe that this was a simple and ordinary life. Just wait and see, it definitely wasn't going to be like this. If that thing really works out, does Guogua still want to take the college entrance examination? Of course, Chen Yufan supported Tangwa to continue taking the college entrance examination. She heard from the educated youths in the village that once she got into university, she would be able to eat from the government. If that thing worked out, the educated youths in the village would probably leave the village. Chapter 47-41. Whether I succeed or not, I will become a teacher. Mom, I don't want to leave you, big brother and second brother. Chen Yufan's heart ached. How could she refuse? But she still said, let's wait and see. Didn't your teacher remind you that it will happen in 2 years? The reason why teacher Tangguo reminded her of this was that she was afraid that her family couldn't wait for her to get married. It would be more troublesome if she wanted to take the exam then. Okay. While Tangguo and Chen Yufan were talking about the future, Yao Wenwen, who had already left the village, planned to meet He Qi. However, she walked around the He family twice and didn't see He Qi. He Qi's sister's children told her that He Qi had gone to the city again. The children were playing and talking about whether He Qi had gone to the city to buy delicious food. Yao Wenwen, who couldn't find He Qi, thought of someone. It was Aunt Zhang, the matchmaker in Xiahe village. Aunt Zhang was a famous matchmaker in the nearby villages. She was always there when a family wanted to marry a daughter or a daughter-in-law. Yao Wenwen turned and went directly to Jiang Qian's house. She was not familiar with Jiang Qian, but when she went to the field, she had seen Jiang Qian deliver food to Jiang Qian's parents several times. She mainly wanted to go to the Jiang family to see how it was going. Coincidentally, when she arrived at the Jiang family, she saw Jiang Qian coming out of the door. When Jiang Qian saw Yao Wenwen standing outside, she was stunned. Yao Wenwen. Jiang Qian had a good memory and recognized Yao Wenwen at once. She was from Shanghe village. She had met her when she delivered food to her parents. Yao Wenwen raised her eyebrows because Jiang Qian's appearance now was much darker and thinner than when they met before. She looked at Jiang Qian's hands and found that they were much rougher than before. Even so, Jiang Qian's radiance couldn't be hidden. She was a little beauty at first glance. No wonder He Qi liked her. Where are you going? Yao Wenwen looked at the cloth bag in Jiang Qian's hand. Judging from its bulging shape, it looked like a lunch box. Didn't you go to the field today? I went in the morning and came back to cook. I have to send food to my dad, Jiang Qian replied. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Otherwise, my dad will have to wait for a long time. Of course, Yao Wenwen knew that Jiang Qian's father had broken his leg and was currently in the hospital in the town. The town was not far from the village. If they walked fast, they would arrive in half an hour. Yao Wenwen didn't know what was going on with Father Jiang, but she knew that he needed a lot of money. Otherwise, his leg would be crippled. Perhaps he needed a sum of money for the surgery. Father Jiang had only been in the hospital for a week, and he had already spent all his savings. He could not afford the surgery. Yao Wenwen guessed that Jiang Qian would find a matchmaker to talk about her marriage. She didn't chase after Jiang Qian. If it wasn't necessary, she wouldn't have come over to check on the situation. As long as she could stop Jiang Qian from marrying He Qi, she would be relieved. Then, she could slowly plan to be together with He Qi. However, the Jiang family situation was urgent. If she didn't want Jiang Qian to marry He Qi, she had to find a way to let someone else take over. The person's family couldn't be too poor. They had to be able to pay for Father Jiang's surgery. Yao Wenwen suddenly laughed out loud. Wasn't the family Tang the best candidate? Tang Yu was a beauty lover. When he saw Jiang Qian's face, he would definitely agree. The Summit. Chapter 47-42. After figuring this out, Yao Wenwen left happily. 2 days later, she pretended to accidentally bump into Aunt Zhang, who was chatting with someone. She didn't expect that Aunt Zhang was talking to someone about her. Aunt Zhang even praised her for being one of the few good-looking and hard-working people in Shanghai village. Yao Wenwen pretended not to know and walked over. Aunt Zhang couldn't say this in front of Yao Wenwen, so she talked about Tang Yu. This family Tang boss is really a weirdo. He insisted on having a pretty one. Aunt Zhang glanced at Yao Wenwen's face as she spoke. Yao Wenwen was actually not bad, but she couldn't say this in front of her. You see, I'm stumped as a matchmaker. Yao Wenwen looked at Aunt Zhang's expression. It was obvious that Aunt Zhang liked her. It wouldn't be long before she went to her house to talk about this. She didn't want to marry that useless Tang Yu. No, she had to dispel Aunt Zhang's idea. Fortunately, she came today. Otherwise, Aunt Zhang would probably come to her house tomorrow. It would be too late to stop her. He even said that even if she's not the prettiest and can't be compared to the family Tang girl, at least half is fine. Aunt Zhang was angry and amused. He's looking for a fairy. She had to admit that the family Tang girl was indeed beautiful. How could she not be beautiful after being raised by the family Tang girl? Many people asked her about the family Tang girl. Unfortunately, she didn't have that intention at all. Besides, not everyone could afford to raise a fairy. After knowing the situation of the family Tang girl, even if the family Tang girl was a fairy, they would stop at the sight of her. I know someone who's not worse than the family Tang girl. Yao Wenwen knew that the opportunity to interject had come. Aunt Zhang was curious. Who? She was a famous matchmaker in the nearby village. How come she didn't know about this person? Jiang Qian from Xiahe village. I've met her before, so I'm a little familiar with her. She's pretty, at least much prettier than me. She's not worse than the family Tang girl. When Yao Wenwen praised Tang Gua and Jiang Qian, she was actually going against her conscience. She didn't think she was bad at all. But for her own purpose, she could only praise them like this. Jiang Qian. Aunt Zhang was stunned. Isn't she still in school? Although she controlled the information of unmarried men and women in several villages, there was a delay in the information. Moreover, Jiang Qian was only 18 years old and had good grades. The Jiang family did not reveal any information, so she did not think about it for the time being. Most importantly, she was not from Xiahe village and did not know what had happened to the Jiang family a week ago. If they had known that Father Zhang's leg was broken, they would have known about it long ago. In her previous life, because of this, she introduced Yao Wenwen to Tang Yu. Jiang Qian's news only came out after the two of them had gotten along. Coincidentally, He Qi from the He family also wanted a pretty girl, so she played matchmaker. It's been a few months since I graduated. I passed by there before. There seems to be something going on with the Jiang family. Yao Wenwen said ambiguously, Aunt Jiang, you can go and ask. Jiang Qian is really good-looking. Aunt Jiang knew that the Jiang family's daughter was also raised very well. All right, I'll go and take a look today. Thinking of Jiang Qian, Aunt Jiang thought of Tang Yu. Her eyes lit up. If the two of them stood together, they would be a good match. Yao Wenwen looked at Aunt Jiang, who left in a hurry with a satisfied expression. However, the other Auntie Li who was left behind couldn't help but say, You silly girl, Auntie Jiang originally wanted to set you up with the eldest son of the Tang family. The Tang family is such a good family, but you lost it. The Summit. Chapter 47-43. Is that so? Yao Wenwen pretended to be puzzled. I overheard you talking about which girl is prettier, so I couldn't help but mention Jiang Qian. I didn't expect you to be talking about this. Aunt Li shook her head. What a silly girl. This is great. Family Tang is such a good thing. Aunt Li suddenly changed the topic. But there is still a second son in Family Tang. We can ask him if he has any thoughts. When the time comes, Aunt Li, I think it's better not. I don't have any thoughts about Family Tang. Yao Wenwen hurriedly said. She was afraid that Aunt Li would be nosy and tell Aunt Zhang about this. Aunt Zhang would definitely be tempted again. Aunt Li saw this and did not say anything more. Yao Wenwen, who had done a big thing, was already thinking about how to make things happen between her and He Qi first. She had to make He Qi like her. As long as He Qi liked her, everything was negotiable. Yao Wenwen looked at her slightly rough hands and frowned. When she married into the He family and the He family became rich in the future, she must take good care of these hands. Aunt Zhang went to the Jiang family and told them about her intention. Mrs. Jiang did not have this idea in the beginning. Her daughter was still young and was not in a hurry to get married. Aunt Zhang could only leave. However, a few days later, Jiang Qian came to her. She asked her to help introduce someone to her. As long as the other party was willing to pay for the surgery to save her father, she would marry him, no matter who it was. Her father's injury could not be delayed any longer. If this went on, his leg would really be crippled. When Aunt Zhang heard this, she came to Family Tang that day. When Chen Yufan heard what Aunt Zhang said, she could not help but frown. When she heard this, she knew that it was a trap. She did not even think about rejecting it immediately. However, Aunt Zhang kept praising Jiang Qian. She said that it was rare to find such a girl who graduated from high school. Aunt Zhang asked her to meet her. Chen Yufan still wanted to refuse. Tang Gua happened to come back at that time. When she heard that Aunt Zhang was introducing Jiang Qian, she quickly ran over to say something nice. Mom, I know Jiang Qian. We were in different classes in the same grade. I got first place and she got second place. She's really pretty. Why don't we meet first? If you think she's good, then let my brother meet her. If it weren't for the Jiang family, I don't think my big brother would have gotten such a pretty girl. Chen Yufan trusted Tang Gua's words the most. After hearing her words, she suddenly felt less repulsed. Okay, since Guogua said so, there must be no problem. Let's go and meet him. At first, she thought that the other party was treating her family as a fool. Now, after Tang Gua's words, he changed his mind. What if the other party really had no way out? When Auntie Zhang saw that Tang Guo was so satisfied with Jiang Qian, she felt relieved. Jiang Qian was quite lucky to be praised by her sister-in-law. She would definitely not be at a disadvantage after marrying him. After Chen Yufan saw Jiang Qian, the dissatisfaction in her heart completely disappeared. Within 2 days, Aunt Zhang arranged for Tang Yu and Jiang Qian to meet. The two of them hit it off at first sight and were very satisfied with each other. When Jiang Qian saw Tang Yu's silly smile, she was relieved and grateful to the Tang family. Just like that, the matter between the two of them was settled. On the same day, they went to the hospital to visit Father Jiang and sent him to the county hospital for surgery. The surgery was very successful. His leg might still be lame in the future, but after recovery, he would have no problem walking. Tang Yu and Jiang Qian's wedding date was set to be 3 months later, mainly because Father Jiang's leg was almost recovered by then. When Yao Wenwen heard about this, she was very satisfied. Recently, everything had been going well for her. She had successfully attracted He Qi's attention and had progressed to the point where they could hold hands. He Qi wanted to go further. She knew that men would easily not cherish what they had, so she had not agreed. After all, she was a person who had lived for a lifetime. She had all kinds of means to coax He Qi. He Qi was not angry. Instead, he indulged in it. When his family wanted to propose marriage for him, He Qi named Yao Wenwen. Then, I'm very happy. Tang Guan knew about Yao Wenwen's movements. When she heard the system report about the two of them, she was very satisfied. The female lead actually came to my house. Tang Guo was most satisfied with this matter. Jiang Qian was really good. Her brother was really lucky. System, judging from the host's tone, it seems that you feel that the female lead is at your house, so you have more reason to be lazy. Peak. Chapter 47-44. There were still 3 days before Tang Yu's wedding. Chen Yufan took some time to bring Tang Guo to town to buy some things for the wedding. They had prepared everything that needed to be prepared. At this time, they didn't dare to make it too big. They could only say that the Tang family also had all the things for the wedding. They were all in the house. Today, they went to buy snacks, wedding candy, wine, and a gift for Jiang Qian. As for the vegetables, they had to buy them the day before to make them fresh. Guogua, is there anything you want to eat? Mom will take you to eat. When they arrived in town, Chen Yufan first asked Tang Guo, do you want to eat at a restaurant? Tang Guo refused. There was nothing good to eat at this time. Let's buy something early and go back. Then let's buy some buns and eat them on the way back. Chen Yufan said, also, bring some back for your brothers. We can steam them at night. Of course, Tang Guo didn't have any objections. The two went to the restaurant to buy buns. Tang Guo didn't expect to meet Yao Wenwen and He Qi. The two were eating. When she looked at Yao Wenwen also saw her. Yao Wenwen's expression was full of self-satisfaction. She gently glanced at Tang Guo's ordinary clothes. If she couldn't control herself, she might have laughed out loud. What a country bumpkin. Tang Guo also saw that Yao Wenwen was wearing very fashionable clothes. System, the Yao family knew that Yao Wenwen was close to He Qi before. Yao Wenwen, who was reborn, had a sweet mouth. She coaxed Father Yao and Mother Yao to buy her clothes. They said that if He Qi likes her, she has to dress up well. If it were other families, they would definitely not be willing to let their daughter be involved with He Qi, but the Yao family was different. They didn't care about He Qi's personality, as long as the He family was rich. The He family was rich, and they only had one son, He Qi. That was what they cared about. In addition, they had vaguely heard that the He family was matchmaking for He Qi. It was said that He Qi wanted a beautiful woman. Now that he had opened his mouth, the Yao parents couldn't help but be tempted by the betrothal gifts. With this amount of betrothal money, their son Yao Jun would not have to worry about finding a wife in the future. Their son could choose any of the girls in the villages. A few days ago, the system told Tang Gua that the Yao and He families had already decided on this matter. At this time, Yao Wenwen and He Qi were officially dating. The Yao couple was afraid that they would lose their rich husband, so they didn't even let Yao Wenwen get on the ground and just waited for the betrothal gift. Of course, it wasn't just the betrothal gifts. There was also the possibility that Yao Wenwen would help their son, Yao Jun. Yao Wenwen's words were also very nice. She knew that the Yao couple cared about Yao Jun the most, so she tried her best to say that when the days were better in the future, she would definitely not forget her younger brother. She would definitely give everything good to her younger brother. The two of them believed her and found Yao Wenwen more and more pleasing to the eye. In just a few months, Yao Wenwen had become much fairer. Yao Wenwen was reborn, so she knew the temperament of men. Even if she held He Qi's hand, she had never thought of taking the first step. However, she had other methods to make He Qi unable to stop himself from her. He Qi hadn't gotten anyone yet, so he was almost obedient to Yao Wenwen's words. His eyes were glued to her body. Tang Gua, do you want to come over and eat? Yao Wenwen waved at Tang Gua with a very noble look. She just wanted to compare herself with Tang Gua. Tang Gua's clothes were very local. And the clothes she wore were bought from Master Dao. Those were goods that were brought back from afar to buy. Peak. Chapter 47-45. Over the past few years, as long as they did not go overboard, they would turn a blind eye to it. Moreover, it would not be long before they completely relaxed, so Yao Wenwen was very bold to use these things. As long as she was in town, she would even put on lipstick. As for the clothes she brought back, she even changed them herself so that they would be more fitting. As long as He Qi met her, his eyes would definitely be on her. So what if he was the richest man in the province in the future? He was still obedient to her. He Qi was not rich yet. She had to take the initiative and train him well so that she could live a comfortable life in the future. No, my mom will go back after buying the buns. Tang Gua refused. Yao Wenwen suddenly felt that He Qi was looking at Tang Gua. Her face darkened in an instant. If that's the case, then forget it. Chen Yufin also noticed Yao Wenwen and greeted her casually. Yao Wenwen's attitude was perfunctory. She did not want to chat with Chen Yufin so that He Qi would not be able to take his eyes off Tang Gua. When Tang Gua and Chen Yufin left the restaurant, He Qi could not help but stare at her back. He Qi, what are you looking at? Don't tell me you like her. Yao Wenwen pretended to ask coquettishly, but in fact, her heart was about to explode. She was dressed so beautifully and even put on makeup, while Tang Gua was wearing plain clothes and had no makeup. Her hair was casually tied into a ponytail. What was there to look at? No, how is that possible? He Qi quickly coaxed Yao Wenwen. In fact, he was a little tempted. It was not that he had never been with women. Although the girl just now was not as well dressed as Yao Wenwen, her skin was fair and her face was beautiful. He had to admit that she was prettier than Yao Wenwen. Yao Wenwen felt uncomfortable in her heart. He Qi's expression clearly showed that he was tempted. Fortunately, she acted quickly and the two of them had already settled down. Otherwise, another Tang Guo would appear after she got rid of Jiang Qian. In the future, she should not talk to Tang Gua as much as possible. He Qi could not be blamed for looking like a vixen. After all, there weren't many pretty girls in the nearby villages. She's the little princess of the Tang family. She doesn't do anything at home and relies on Aunt Yufin and her two brothers to take care of her. Yao Wenwen was still worried and said in a low voice, I also heard that their family is looking for a son-in-law to take care of her. It was not that easy to be with her. This live-in son-in-law is being squeezed dry by his family. Actually, someone from the village wanted to go to her house to propose marriage. Guess what happened? In fact, Chi was already retreating in his heart. Although he liked beautiful women, he did not have any interest in a woman who did nothing. What happened? Yao Wenwen heard that Chi's tone had obviously calmed down, and she was relieved. They were all scared off by Aunt Yufin and her two brothers' conditions. Now the young men in the village all shrink back at the sight of her. Who dares to be with such a fairy? Then, will she be able to get married? Chi was curious. In his opinion, his wife not only had to be pretty, but also had to be hardworking and capable. She had to serve him well. Tang Guo was good-looking, but she was particularly delicate like a little princess. He really could not have any interest in her. Anyway, she has the family to take care of her. They are happy. Yao Wenwen snorted at this. Tang Guo did not have a good life in her previous life, and it was impossible for her to have a good life in this life. As long as she was around, no one in the family could have a good life. The Peak. Chapter 47-46. She hadn't forgotten the humiliation in her previous life. After they got married, she would urge Chi to find a way to get rich as soon as possible. After that, she would be able to come back with her head held high. This time, she was the wife of the richest man in the province, not the lover of a big boss. That kind of thing wouldn't happen again. She also wanted to take revenge on the big boss's wife. Tang Guo and Chen Yufin went straight to the supply and demand cooperative. On the way, Chen Yufin suddenly said, "Auntie Zhang mentioned Yao Wenwen to me before." "Mom, what do you mean?" Tang Guo felt that Chen Yufin seemed to have noticed something. "Fortunately, I said I'd wait and see, and Qian came." Chen Yufin was more and more satisfied with this decision. Yao Wenwen is not simple. She's good at seducing men. The village was not so big. It was impossible for her not to know what Yao Wenwen was doing. Of course, she also knew something else. Although it was not the last step, in her opinion, it was very degrading. But in front of Tang Guo, she couldn't say much. "Guo, you can't learn from Yao Wenwen." Tang Guo blinked. "Mom, what should I learn from Yao Wenwen?" Chen Yufin was speechless. She couldn't tell her daughter that kind of thing again. Tang Guo knew this because the system had been paying attention to Yao Wenwen's movements. Yao Wenwen indeed didn't go the last step with Chi, but Chi was a very realistic man. Moreover, he was a man who had touched women before. If he couldn't get what he wanted, he would definitely be impatient. Yao Wenwen used other means, such as her hands and mouth, to help Chi solve some difficulties. As the lover of a big boss, she knew a lot of tricks. How could a young man like Chi not be addicted? This thing was probably not done secretly and was accidentally seen by others. As long as it was seen by one person, almost everyone in the village would know, but they wouldn't mention it in front of the main character. Chen Yufin's expression was complicated. She wanted to say it, but it was not easy. "Forget it. Let's go in and look at the cloth. Yao Wenwen's clothes are pretty. Let's buy some cloth back. Mom will make it for you and Qian." Chen Yufin was very clever. She had already memorized the style of the clothes that Yao Wenwen was wearing just now. However, she definitely couldn't do the same thing. She had to make some changes. Some parts were too tight and had to be loosened. Tang Guo didn't refuse. She was very happy to be able to wear something beautiful. Thinking of Chen Yufeng's dexterity, the clothes she made were indeed not bad. In Yao Wenwen's eyes, what she was wearing was old-fashioned, but in fact, it was already quite fashionable in the village. If she waited for the limelight to pass, she would encourage Chen Yufin to learn to design, make clothes, and become the boss of a clothing store. Would she be able to mix in with the rich second generation in the future? Chen Yufin was not illiterate and had studied for a few years. When the time came, she would give him some pills that could clear his mind. Learning would definitely not be a problem. System, how frightening. This cow has already been raised by its own mother. Great host, you really don't have a conscience. In order to become a rich second generation, he would do anything. 3 days later, Tang Yu and Jiang Qian got married. The clothes that Jiang Qian wore were made by Chen Yufin. When it was sent over, it was a special style. Jiang Qian liked it immediately. She had a good impression of the family. Chen Yufin's actions touched her even more. When the Jiang family saw the family's attitude, they were very relieved. They wiped their tears as they watched Jiang Qian being taken away. After a small ceremony, the people in the village came to join in the fun. Yao Wenwen also came. Yao Wenwen was dressed very beautifully today. She even put on lipstick. Of course, as she planned to steal the limelight. The summit. Chapter 47-47. Sister, it's not good for you to dress like this. Yao Xianxian had been telling Yao Wenwen not to dress so ostentatiously since they left the house. It was Jiang Qian's wedding, it was inappropriate for her to dress more ostentatiously than the bride. Along the way, she had said it several times, but Yao Wenwen didn't listen. Instead, she was a little impatient. She didn't understand why she had such a stupid sister. Couldn't she tell who was her sister? No wonder she was married off to a lame man in her previous life. She felt so happy and stayed in this small village for the rest of her life. Useless. Sister, everyone is looking at you. It's not good. Yao Xianxian was worried. Her sister dressed like this, wasn't she here to ruin the wedding? The bride was still on her way. Shanghe village and Shihe village were close. If she walked fast, it would only take about 10 minutes. Yao Xianxian saw that her sister didn't listen at all. She was worried. She didn't know if Tang Guo would be angry if she saw it. Would the bride feel uncomfortable if she saw it? But she had tried her best. Ever since her sister fell on her head, she did strange things. She couldn't stop her. 10 minutes later, there was a commotion outside, followed by the sound of firecrackers. Yao Wenwen didn't move. Yao Xianxian liked this kind of noise and quickly ran over to see the bride. From Yao Wenwen's point of view, Yao Xuanxuan's behavior was no different from a country bumpkin. She looked at Yao Xuanxuan's clothes. It was old and dull, and the color wasn't bright. There were even patches. What a disgrace. Yao Wenwen stood still. She was dressed so well. Even if she didn't go into the crowd, people would still notice her. When she just arrived, many people's eyes were on her. The women in the village had jealous looks in their eyes, while the men kept looking at her. She said that she was ostentatious, but those women were envious. She was still young. She looked good if she dressed up casually. Thinking of this, Yao Wenwen felt that she must take good care of her face. Otherwise, when He became the richest man in the province, who knew how many mistresses would come to him? Yao Wenwen was immersed in her own thoughts. When she came back to her senses, she heard the people around her shouting. She had a bad premonition. The bride is so beautiful. Tang Yu, this kid is lucky. I heard that Tang Yu was looking for a wife. He only wanted to find a beautiful one, and he really found one. The boss of family Tang is not bad either. The two of them are really a good match. The bride's clothes are so beautiful. I wonder where she bought them. Tangua heard the young girls in the village talking about it. She walked over and said, "My mother made it for my sister-in-law. She went to her house to measure the size and made it herself." Tangua's words shocked everyone in the village. What? The bride's wedding dress was personally made by her mother-in-law. Jiang Qian was so lucky to have met such a mother-in-law. Her life was too good. Now, no matter if it was a young girl or a married woman, they all looked at Jiang Qian with envy. If it was any other day, they would definitely say a few words of jealousy. However, on such a joyous day, they couldn't say anything as they held the wedding candies in their hands. They could only watch with envious eyes. Jiang Qian's bridal attire was somewhat similar to the Xiuhua attire of the later generations. Because of the era, craftsmanship, and time, it was much simpler than the Xiuhua attire. But at this time, it was also very rare. Peak. Chapter 47-48. The buttons on the dress were made by Chen Yufan herself with thread. It was very delicate and beautiful. She even had a simple flower embroidered on the collar. The sleeves on both sides were also embroidered with some flowers as decoration. There were also some simple embroidery patterns on other parts of the dress, making the bridal dress not look monotonous. The leather shoes on her feet were bought by Tang Yu for her. When Tang Yu bought it, Chen Yufan didn't have any opinion. He loved his wife. As long as his daughter-in-law was a good woman and was willing to live a good life, their wedding day should be glorious. This is so beautiful. When I get married in the future, I want to wear beautiful clothes like this. When Tangua heard the words of the girls beside her, she turned around and looked at them with a smile. It's not impossible if you want to wear this. You can buy cloth and ask my mother to make it for you. You can get some money when the time comes. When the girls heard this, they were deep in thought. Their eyes instantly lit up. It seemed that this was also possible. Tang Guo looked at her sister-in-law Jiang Qian's bridal outfit with satisfaction. The shoes were bought by her brother, the clothes were made by her mother, the hair was thinned by her, and the makeup was done by her. At this time, Jiang Qian completely led the trend of girls getting married in the whole village. Every part of her body was very detailed, making people envious. Especially the girls who were watching, they were envious. Good husband, good mother-in-law. If they were more beautiful, they might be able to marry into the Tang family. At that time, they would be able to enjoy this kind of treatment. Unfortunately, there were no ifs. I think the bride's hairstyle looks good too. Tangua said at this time. I helped sister-in-law do this. I saw people in the city do their hair like this before, so I thought about it myself. It looks good. Tangua had already noticed Yao Wenwen who was stunned at the side, so she deliberately said it loudly. Yao Wenwen probably thought that Jiang Qian would be at a disadvantage if she married into the Tang family. Would she be bullied by her sister-in-law? She used reality to tell her that she wouldn't. Not only would she not be bullied, but she would also be blessed for the rest of her life. Yao Wenwen still didn't understand that people were different. Sooner or later, she would understand. Tangua, your hands are so skillful. Yao Xianxian came to Tangua's side and said enviously, the bride is so beautiful. You don't have to be envious. If you get married, I'll comb your hair for you too. Tangua said with a smile. So what if she was a little different? She could also open up a social circle in the village. At that time, these simple girls would only be loyal to her. I want one too. When I get married, can I look for you? Another girl from the same village said, completely unabashed. Tangua nodded. Sure. When you get married in the future, you can come to me. As long as I'm free, I'll help you comb your hair. That's great. A young girl came over and hugged Tangua's arm. Don't worry, you'll get a bonus. If they didn't give her a red packet, wouldn't it seem like they were too stingy and only knew how to take advantage of others? Tangua believed that after today, there would be a lot of people looking for her to comb their hair. Not only that, but more and more people would ask her mother to make clothes for them. Her mother had been tired out in the past few years. She couldn't go out to the fields anymore. She might as well start making clothes for others. When the limelight was over, the family would slowly become rich and they could add some equipment. At that time, she would go to the city to buy some fashion design books for her mother. Anyway, she had made up her mind to make Chen Yufan rich so that she could be at ease and be a rich second generation. The Peak. Chapter 47-49. Yao Wenwen stood in the same place. There was no one around her. She looked at Tangua standing in the middle of the girls. Her face was about to crack. Tangua didn't wear new clothes today. She was still wearing ordinary clothes. In Yao Wenwen's eyes, this was a humiliation to her. Also, why was Tangua so nice to Jiang Qian? She remembered that after she married into the family Tangua's attitude towards her was not so nice. As for Chen Yufan, she had never intended to make clothes for her. Not to mention sewing a wedding gown, even her wedding gown looked very beautiful in her eyes. Yao Wenwen's expression was ugly. She knew that Chen Yufan was not satisfied with her. No wonder she was against her in the previous life. She married into the Tang family. Sure enough, she could only be bullied. But she believed that Jiang Qian would not have a good life in the future. The family Tang was just pretending. In the future, Jiang Qian would understand that the highest position in the family Tang was Tangua. She would be as miserable as her. Yao Wenwen was furious when she heard the others talking about Jiang Qian's leather shoes. It was Tang Yu who personally brought her to buy them. In the previous life, Tang Yu didn't buy them for her when she got married. It was too infuriating. How could that useless man think of these things? Yao Wenwen's hair was combed by Tangua. Yao Wenwen was even more furious. In the previous life, when she got married, Tangua was too lazy to do anything. How could she comb her hair? Her hair was combed by her mother. She even wore an old-fashioned red flower. The makeup on her face was also ugly. A thick layer of powder, red lips, and a heavy blush. Fortunately, no one in the village could afford a camera at that time. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing to take a picture of that scene. Yao Wenwen observed that Jiang Qian's makeup was also very nice. It was light and not like her previous life's wedding dress. She felt very sad. I saw it in the city. When those beautiful sisters got married, they only applied a little bit of blush. Not too much. Otherwise, it wouldn't look good. Sister-in-law's skin is very good. I only applied a little bit of powder, and it already looks good. If her lips were thinner, they would look fresher and more natural. If the makeup is too thick, it will feel very heavy. Sister-in-law is only 18 years old, so heavy makeup is not suitable for her. Tangua taught the girls how to put on makeup. In fact, she had secretly changed some of her makeup, which was why she could show the current effect. Jiang Qian's skin was indeed very good, so she did a simple touch. She just wanted her makeup to look more natural, unlike the bride who was getting married at this time. Her makeup looked like Fua who had just walked out of a New Year painting. The girls in the village nodded their heads in agreement when they heard what Tangua said. Clearly, they felt that Tangua was right. When they looked at Jiang Qian's makeup, they realized something. Then, they seemed to have thought of something and turned to look at Yao Wenwen. Yao Wenwen's makeup wasn't bad, but her lips were too red. According to her current age, that kind of red didn't suit her. Yao Wenwen's makeup looked very flamboyant, but when they looked around, they found that they liked Jiang Qian's style more. Jiang Qian also used bright red lipstick, but Tang Guo only applied a thin layer of it. It had a foggy effect, so it looked light and her skin was white. Tang Yu had been working for the Jiang family for the past 3 months, so Jiang Qian wasn't that tired. In Tang Yu's opinion, his wife was very beautiful. Of course, he had to take good care of her. So, she became much better looking. Yao Wenwen saw the girls staring at her thoughtfully. She was about to explode. Peak. Chapter 4750. Tang Guo didn't pay attention to Yao Wenwen anymore. The wedding had already started, and everyone was making noise. The girls didn't look at Yao Wenwen anymore. But they felt that Yao Wenwen's makeup was too heavy, and she didn't look good. If they wanted to learn how to put on makeup, they had to come to Tang Guo's place. Yao Wenwen was originally here to show off, but Jiang Qian was too well prepared. Not only did she not show off, but she also became a negative example. If it wasn't for Jiang Qian's wedding today, the girls might have said that Yao Wenwen's makeup didn't look good on her. Today, everyone was giving face to the family Tang. They didn't say much, so as not to cause trouble. After the commotion, the guests dispersed. The aunties in the village washed the dishes before leaving. This was the custom of eating at a banquet. Those who helped and took the red envelopes would clean up the place before leaving. In the evening, they would come over for another meal. Under Yao Wenwen's anger, Jiang Qian married Tang Yu just like that. On the morning of the wedding, Jiang Qian woke up early and wanted to help in the kitchen. But she was pushed out by Tang Guo and Chen Yufan. Jiang Qian stood at the door, feeling a little lost. She felt that she was really lucky to have such a good husband, so she didn't want to leave a lazy impression. Chen Yufan said, "How can a new daughter-in-law enter the kitchen on her first day? After 3 days, Jiang Qian can come and help me. For the next few days, let Big Brother take you out to shop in the town. See if there's anything you want to buy." After Chen Yufan said that, she also reminded Tang Guo, "Guo won't go. If you want to go, let your second brother take you." Tang Guo's face showed that she understood. Chen Yufan was amused. As expected of her daughter, she was so sensible. Her daughter-in-law was also good. She was sensible. There wasn't much work to do at home. Jiang Qian was a good person. She didn't need to set any rules. It was easy to disturb the peace of the family. There was no need for her to do those things. After getting along with Jiang Qian for the past few months, she thought highly of her. She knew how to live her life. "Sister-in-law, you can go." Jiang Qian's heart was filled with gratitude. This kind of in-laws was probably the only Tang family. Seeing that Tang Guo and Chen Yufan didn't seem to be polite, she nodded. Just then, Tang Yu came over and said he would take her shopping. Jiang Qian blushed as Tang Yu held her small hand and followed them out. "Look at your big brother. Are you satisfied now?" Chen Yufan ridiculed and even rolled her eyes. "Mom, someone might come looking for you to make clothes soon." Tang Guo sat on the side and remembered what those girls had asked her yesterday. "You can collect some salary. The clothes you make are very beautiful. They're more fashionable than the ones in town. They'll definitely be popular." Tang Guo said. Chen Yufan didn't take it seriously. Every woman in the family knows how to make clothes like this. "Guo, don't joke around. But Mom's embroidery is definitely better than others, especially your embroidery. Not many people in the village have this level of skill, right? Mom's body can't do too much work. If someone really comes looking for you, I can still get some income." Tang Guo said. "If someone comes looking for you, you can't just ignore it. Even if you do it, you can't do it for free, right? When Chen Yufan heard this, she felt that it was true and agreed. But she didn't think that someone would come looking for her to make clothes. After some time, I plan to go to the village to have a look. Do they need a teacher? Tang Guo felt that it was time for her to have something to do. It was boring to stay at home every day. Her life in the future would be very simple. She would live in harmony with her family and sister-in-law. As long as Jiang Qian lived like a fish in water in the family, Yao Wenwen would definitely be angry. The Peak. Chapter 4751. Chen Yufan said, "Okay, go ahead. It's good to be able to teach. You're my baby. I don't want you to work, but you're already a grown-up. You have to have something to do." On the first day of Jiang Qian and Tang Yu's wedding, the news that Chen Yufan chased her out of the kitchen and asked the eldest family Tang Yu to take her shopping spread quickly in the village. The people who spread the news were Tang Guo and Tang Shi. The villagers noticed that Tang Yu wasn't around, so they asked Tang Shi about it. Tang Shi told them the truth. Tang Guo went to deliver food to Tang Shi, then chatted with Yao Xianxian and told her about it. She also said that the new daughter-in-law wouldn't enter the kitchen for the first 3 days. Suddenly, Chen Yufan became the role model of a good mother-in-law in the village. Tang Guo also became the role model of a sister-in-law. The women in the village were very envious of Jiang Qian. Yao Xuanxuan's expression was the most obvious. "What about after 3 days? Will your sister-in-law come here?" "No, my eldest brother and second brother are good at work. They can feed our family. My sister-in-law only needs to help my mother raise the chickens and ducks. Moreover, my eldest brother doesn't want her to work. I also think that my sister-in-law is so beautiful. It's a pity that she's sunburned." Tang Guo's words made the girls envious. Not to mention the girls, even the aunties were jealous. They only wished that they were born a few decades earlier. The girls only wished that they didn't take action earlier. They thought that the eldest family Tang and second brother doted on Tang Guo too much. They thought that after marrying into family Tang, they would definitely be bullied because of this sister-in-law. The result was different. After Tang Shi came back from work, he noticed that something was wrong. Why were the girls looking at him strangely? When a girl blushed at him, Tang Shi was speechless. It turned out that it was his eldest brother's fault. No wonder the girls looked at him strangely. "Big brother, how do you want to clean up this mess? Now, wherever I go, there will be strange gazes. How come I didn't notice that there were so many girls in the village before? Recently, I've found that there are girls everywhere." Tang Shi said angrily. "I have no problem with you spoiling your sister-in-law, but you've caused me trouble." Tang Yu patted Tang Shi's shoulder. "Can you bear it? You can't expect me to mistreat your sister-in-law, right? Get lost." Tang Shi pushed Tang Yu's hand away. "How about this? Since you have a sister-in-law, you don't have to eat the water and food your sister gives me. How about that?" Tang Yu shook his head. "That won't do. Big brother, you shouldn't be too greedy. Pete, my sister is still my sister. It's not like she's no longer my sister just because she's married." Tang Shi didn't give in at all. This made Tang Shi very angry. 2 days later, Aunt Zhang came to ask Tang Shi if he wanted a wife. Tang Shi's expression was solemn. No. Aunt Zhang was not willing to give up. She glibly talked about all the benefits of having a wife, but Tang Shi did not waver at all. In the end, he really became very impatient and proposed a condition that made Aunt Zhang not dare to say anything else. "If she's as good-looking as my sister, I can consider it." A sneer formed at the corners of Tang Shi's lips. If there's such a woman, I'll have to trouble you to keep an eye out for her, Aunt Zhang. Aunt Zhang opened her mouth, not knowing what to say for a moment. After a while, she said, Tang Shi, it's easy for you to be single like this. No, I want someone as good-looking as my sister. Tang Shi refused to budge. If there's none, then forget it. In the end, Aunt Zhang left regretfully. The family Tang brothers were good at everything, except for their looks. The two of them were simple-minded, which made things very difficult for her. However, the news that Tang Shi wanted to find a wife who was as good-looking as Tang Guo still spread like wildfire in the nearby villages. The young girls in the village clenched their fists regretfully. They only hated that they weren't as good-looking as Tang Guo. Otherwise, the second family Tang brother would be theirs. Tang Shi thought, dream on. Peak. Chapter 4752. A month after Tang Yu's wedding, Tang Guo became a teacher in the village. The village was small and shabby. There were only 2 teachers in it, and they were both older. When the school heard that Tang Guo was willing to be a teacher in the village, the principal was very happy. Jiang Qian also didn't expect that after marrying into the Tang family, she didn't need to work in the field. She only needed to help Chen Yufan. There weren't many chores at home, so it was easy for the two of them. Jiang Qian wasn't a lazy person. She worked carefully and seriously. Chen Yufan was very satisfied with this. Whenever there was something good at home, the 5 of them would share it equally. She didn't treat Jiang Qian as an outsider. Jiang Qian knew that she had met a good family, but she didn't expect that life after marriage would be easier than before. Guoguo was right. Someone actually came to me to make clothes. Tang Guo went to the village to teach. If it wasn't a holiday, she would go every day. Jiang Qian married into the family, so she could accompany Chen Yufan and chat with her. Both of them were nimble and could finish the chores at home in half a morning. Now Chen Yufan was sitting in front of an old-fashioned sewing machine, making clothes. The sewing machine was quite old. Father Tang bought it for her when she got married. Mom is clever and skillful. It's not surprising that they came to you for help. Jiang Qian was not stingy with her praise. Before marriage, many people said that it was difficult to get along with their mother-in-law. She didn't know if it was difficult to get along with other mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, but it was easy for her to get along with Chen Yufan. Chen Yufan was naturally happy to be praised. You're good with words. No wonder Guoguo said you're good. Fortunately, Guoguo knows you. Otherwise, boss might have missed you. Chen Yufan didn't feel that it was inappropriate to say this. Besides, it was good to praise other people in front of Jiang Qian. It could promote family harmony. Jiang Qian's eyes lit up. Little sister, did you say that about me? I only know that little sister's grades are very good. She always gets first place. I can't surpass her. You're not bad either. Guoguo doesn't do much work at home. She uses the rest of her time to study. You must be busy at home. You don't have as much time to study as her. It's normal that your grades are a little worse than her. Jiang Qian couldn't help but smile. This academic performance really depends on talent. Even if I have more time, my little sister is still better. All right, let's stop flattering each other. Come and help me measure the cloth. Jiang Qian nodded and waited for the cloth to be measured. After the cloth was cut, she saw Chen Yufan quickly sewing. A thought suddenly popped into her mind and she asked, Mom, are you making a wedding gown this time too? Yes. What if we make some everyday clothes? Girls nowadays like pretty clothes. When I was studying in the county town, I often saw different styles. Mom, do you want to try making 2 sets? When the time comes, it doesn't matter if it's for someone else or if it's for sale. Also, I want to learn how to do it together. Jiang Qian said embarrassedly, staying at home all day and doing nothing makes me feel like a useless person. Chen Yufan, isn't it because we don't have enough work at home? How was he a cripple? But your suggestion seems pretty good. Then can I draw the clothes I see for you? Jiang Qian had this idea before, but she didn't know how to make clothes. Her mother didn't know how to make clothes either. Chen Yufan was different. Chen Yufan's clothes were more exquisite than the ones from the supply and demand cooperative. The needlework was especially dense and thin, and it was very durable. The apex. Chapter 47-53. In addition, Chen Yufan also knew several ways to wrap buttons. In her opinion, these buttons were exquisite and beautiful. Even the buttons worn by the people in the city were not as beautiful as Chen Yufan's. Not only that, Chen Yufan also knew how to embroider, and she knew more than one embroidery method. Jiang Qian even felt that it was a pity. If it were not for the trend in recent years, Chen Yufan could have opened a shop in the county. A shop specializing in handmade clothes would definitely be popular. Jiang Qian went to find a notebook and drew the patterns she saw. She also changed some of them and drew some of the patterns she thought of. After Chen Yufan saw it, she could not move her eyes away from the paper. It's so beautiful. These patterns look really good. When I get rid of the wedding clothes in my hands, I'll make these. Even if I can't sell them, I can keep them for you and Guogua to wear. Jiang Qian did not expect Chen Yufan to be so kind. She must have done something good in her previous life for her to be given such a good husband. Tang Guo came back from school and heard about what happened at home. Chen Yufan pulled her and kept telling her that Jiang Qian's idea was good. They would have beautiful clothes to wear in a while. Mom, how did you think of letting me and sister-in-law wear them out first? When others see them, they will definitely ask me where you bought them, Tang Guo said. Chen Yufan's eyes lit up. Yes, her daughter and daughter-in-law were the most beautiful girls in the village. If they were to wear the clothes out, people would definitely ask them. Jiang Qian was also surprised. This idea is really good. It's a pity that we can't open a shop in the county. If you can open a shop, the clothes you make will definitely be in short supply. Actually, I want to tell you a piece of good news. Tang Guo's words attracted their attention and they looked at her. Tang Guo said in a low voice, the college entrance examination is going to be reinstated soon. After hearing this, Jiang Qian was stunned. Not only will the college entrance examination be reinstated, but it is also said that they will start to encourage and support the development of self-employment. In the future, you can open a shop in the city. It's not just a dream. It's not possible. Tang Guo's words shocked the two of them. Chen Yufan swallowed her saliva. Really? Yes. The principal is well informed. Why would he lie to me? The village chief should be informed in a few days. Actually, in some places, the news has already spread. Speaking of this, Tang Guo thought of those educated youths in the village. Those educated youths in the village will probably take this opportunity to leave. It's fine if they're single, but those who got married in the village will probably be in trouble. Chen Yufan stopped smiling and fell into silence. Sister-in-law, are you going to continue with the college entrance examination? Tang Guo shifted the topic to Jiang Qian. Jiang Qian came back to her senses and hesitated. Chen Yufan also reacted. Qian, do you want to continue with the college entrance examination? Sister-in-law's grades are so good, she will definitely take the exam. Tang Guo interrupted them. I'll bring the textbooks back in a few days. Sister-in-law, you can revise at home. Jiang Qian understood the meaning behind her words. Little sister, aren't you going to take the exam? Me? I don't want to leave my mother. It's too far away to go to university. I don't want to be apart from my mother for even a day. Tang Gua said, Sister-in-law, you just have to take the exam. Don't worry about anything. Chen Yufin saw this and did not stop her. However, she still asked Tang Gua, Gua, your grades are so good. Are you really not going to take the exam? That's right. Little sister, your grades are so good. Why don't you take the exam? When the time comes, the school you'll go to will definitely be better than mine. Of course, Tang Gua could not tell the truth. She just wanted to stay in this small mountain village and did not want to go out and fight at all. What was there to fight for? Her eldest brother was hardworking and even married a female lead. Her second brother was smart and would definitely shine in the future. Her mother was clever and skillful with her hands. The clothes she made were so beautiful. With a little training, she would be a fashion designer in the future. With such good conditions, wouldn't it be better to be a salted fish? The peak. Chapter 47-54. But if Tang Gua didn't give a reason, the whole family would probably keep an eye on her and persuade her to take the college entrance examination. Actually, I have some ideas. Tang Gua pretended to be profound and said, I want to be a teacher so that the children in the village can catch up with the national average as soon as possible. We can't fall behind. Recently, when I became a teacher, I found out that many students still don't know my name. When the village has a better teacher, I can take the exam. There's no age limit. Jiang Qian paused, and then the look in her eyes suddenly changed and became respectful. Chen Yufin's eyes also changed. Her eyes were red. She didn't expect her daughter to have such a big dream to make the children in the village cultured. Sister-in-law, is it lonely to study alone? Do you want to study with my brother? Tang Gua said, because of our family, my brother only went to junior high school. Actually, his grades are still very good. Sister-in-law, if you have time, you can tutor him and study together. You're husband and wife. Isn't it better to improve together? I'm not bragging. With my brother's brain, he can definitely catch up. Jiang Qian had such an idea. If the college entrance examination was restored and she could be admitted to university, her life would definitely be different. She hesitated because she was already married. If she was admitted in the future, would her relationship with Tang Yu become more and more distant? The gap between a man and a woman could easily affect the relationship between two people. Tang Gua's suggestion made her very tempted. What about second brother? If she and Tang Yu both went to study, all the heavy burden would be on Tang Shi's shoulders. She couldn't do it. Let's wait for the notice first. If the notice is released and the development of self-employment is encouraged, then we'll think about letting mom sell clothes. When the time comes, we'll divide the land for individual farming. We can ask someone to help us. Or we can contract to other people in the village. Tang Gua analyzed, we can't do the same thing together. We can do it one by one. Second brother is a poor student. It'll probably be very difficult for him. I can help him revise and lay a good foundation. Chen Yufin agreed, okay, then let's wait for the news first. Before the news came out, the Tang family was invited to attend Yao Wenwen and He Chi's wedding. The wedding was very lively. Yao Wenwen's makeup and hairstyle were all done by herself, and her clothes were bought and changed, so she looked really good. However, her figure was not as good as Jiang Qian's. Everyone had already seen the prettier Jiang Qian, so Yao Wenwen was not that stunning. He Chi came to pick up Yao Wenwen on a bicycle. It was indeed very glamorous. Tang Yu looked at the bicycle and suddenly held Jiang Qian's hand. You're right. We can't farm all the time. I'll take the exam with you. At first, he didn't agree, because if he left, what would happen to the family? Even though the whole family agreed. When he saw the bicycle, he suddenly understood that farming was not the way to go. For the sake of his family, he had to learn other skills so that he could bring glory to the people he cared about. Big brother should have figured it out, Tang Shi whispered to Tang Guo. I'm relieved now. Second brother, don't worry. Your foundation is worse than big brother's. You didn't even finish primary school. This will drag down our education level. So, when we get home, I'll give you special treatment. Tang Shi's cheeks twitched. That's not necessary. I'm not cut out for studying. It's necessary. My job in the future is to eliminate illiteracy in the nearby villages. This is a very great project. Second brother, you can't be an obstacle to my literacy work. Tang Shi was speechless. He had a headache when he thought about studying. Tang Guo felt that with this literacy project as an excuse, she could always stay in the village. When her sister-in-law's career was successful, the village would be prosperous. Because of this, she was worried sick. The peak. Chapter 47-55. A few days after attending Yao Wenwen's wedding, the announcement of the resumption of the college entrance examination finally came. The educated youths in the nearby villages were the happiest. They were all eager to study and go back to the city. They even went to work less often. The land contract system would still take a few years. At this time, they still worked together to earn work points. The educated youths who did not get married in the village could only work and study at the same time. As for the married educated youths, especially the male educated youths, they could coax the girl's family into supporting them to take the college entrance examination. As for what would happen after they were admitted to the university, they would only know when it happened. Tang Guo had already brought back the revision materials. Recently, she had also written some of the materials and handed them to Jiang Qian. Sister-in-law, when you have time, you have to tutor my eldest brother. I'll leave him to you. Jiang Qian nodded. Little sister, don't worry. I will definitely help all you pass the exam. I'm relieved to hear that. Time is tight, you have to hurry up. Tang Guo paused and said, if there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me. Jiang Qian did not think there was anything wrong with her words. In her heart, Tang Guo's grades were better than hers. Tang Guo gave the revision materials to Jiang Qian and planned to walk around the village. As expected, she found that the number of educated youths at work had decreased. Madam Host, is that guy not coming? The system asked worriedly. I have scanned all the unmarried men nearby. None of them look like your cutie. The quality of the educated youths in these villages is not good. They are not as good-looking as your eldest brother and second brother. So, they are definitely not as cute as your cutie. Little Tongzi, if you go on like this, you might really become a matchmaker system. Am I not concerned about the Madam Host's marriage? After the college entrance examination, there might be a lot of orphans and widows in the village. Tang Guo frowned. She was disgusted by this kind of irresponsible behavior. Do you want to stop it? You think too much. Tang Guo sneered. Those who should leave will leave sooner or later. It's their family business. If I stop it, they will think I'm crazy. They might know what kind of person that person is. Some people are just deceiving themselves. After walking around, Tang Guo met some acquaintances. When they saw Tang Guo, their eyes lit up and asked Tang Guo if she was going to take the college entrance examination. Tang Guo answered them one by one. She said she was not going to take the college entrance examination for the time being. If I'm busy studying, who will teach these students? The other teachers in the school are old and don't have that much energy. Let's talk about this later. When the villagers heard this, their expressions changed. System, you clearly want to be a salted fish, but this reason is too good. If the villagers know about it, they won't be able to gossip. In less than 2 days, the news that Tang Guo would not take the college entrance exam and would continue to teach and train students spread throughout the village. Look at those educated youths. When they heard the news of the college entrance examination, their work was halved and they were reading when they walked. This place was barren. Those who belonged to the outside world would not come here. There was no way to keep them here. Chapter 47-56. When Jiang Qian went to deliver food to Tang Yu and Tang Shi, she was surprised to see that the farm was not as prosperous as before. Why are there so few people? Jiang Qian asked Tang Yu. Tang Yu said while eating, those educated youths need to study. Now they only work half a day. Some come every other day and plan to eat half full. They all hope to pass the exam. This place is too poor to keep people. They're all from the big cities. Once they see hope, how can they sit still? Tang Shi added, after the college entrance examination, I'm afraid the number of educated youths will decrease by half. And the college entrance examination is held every year. Slowly, there will be no educated youths in the village. Those who can stay in the village are still the people in our village. Even the people in our village, Tang Shi paused and continued, who doesn't want to be admitted to a university. In the future, they will be assigned to work in the unit, eat the government's meals, sit in the office, and never come here again. Brother, sister-in-law, don't mind me. What I said is the reality. Actually, I also hope that you can get into a university so that you can work for the government in the future. If you only farm, you won't have any future prospects. You won't be able to change the environment. This place is supposed to be barren, but it will still be barren. Tang Shi said again, but it's not impossible. I heard from the village chief that there will be other policies in the future. When the time comes, as long as we follow the policies and seize the opportunity, it's not impossible to change this place. In fact, Tang Shi had a lot of plans in his heart. He just lacked the opportunity. Brother, sister-in-law, don't worry about studying. In the future, when you are successful in your studies, our family will have one more path. Tang Yu patted Tang Shi's shoulder, it's hard on you. What's hard about it? Tang Shi said indifferently, anyway, I'm not good at studying. I didn't even graduate from primary school. Even if you give me 3 to 5 years, I won't be able to pass the exam. Brother, it's different. Your original grades were not worse than your sister's. If Dad didn't have an accident, you would definitely be able to finish high school. We're family. Don't say that. Tang Yu said. He thought that Tang Shi was right. He had to choose another path. Since the opportunity was in front of him, and it was the hope of the whole family, he couldn't miss it. If the situation in the village was not good enough, he and Jiang Qian would be able to take their families away in the future. If the village could develop, everyone would be happy. Jiang Qian looked at the two brothers and silently thought that if she had the ability in the future, she would definitely come back to help develop this place. Barren hills and treacherous rivers were only because no one was there to lead it out of this predicament. If that day really came, she would definitely come back and change this place. In the He family, Yao Wenwen was also excited when she heard that the college entrance exam would be reinstated. However, when she thought of her own results, she was a little disappointed. With her grades, it was impossible for her to pass the exam. Her efforts were in vain. Therefore, she turned her attention to He-Chi when He-Chi heard that Yao Wenwen wanted him to take the college entrance examination and revise now. He looked at Yao Wenwen strangely. He even touched Yao Wenwen's forehead. You don't have a fever, do you? Of course I don't. I'm serious. You should revise well. If you revise now, you might be able to pass the exam. Yao Wenwen slapped He-Chi's hand away. Go look for the revision materials first, then revise. I'm sure you can pass the exam. She remembered that He-Chi had passed the exam in her previous life. Although he didn't do as well as Jiang Qian, they were still in the same university and in the same city. The summit. Chapter 47-57. He-Chi had made his fortune in that city. Less than 2 years later, he moved back to the provincial capital and became the richest man in the province. Yao Wenwen had already decided that once He-Chi passed the exam, she would go with He-Chi. She would use the excuse of taking care of He-Chi's daily life. The He family wouldn't have any objections. Ever since Yao Wenwen married into the He family, her life hadn't been easy. If it weren't for He-Chi's future identity, she definitely wouldn't have worked so hard to cook and wash clothes for the He family. Yes, she had to cook on the first day she married into the He family. This reminded her of her previous life. When she married into the Tang family, she didn't do any work for 3 consecutive days. She always felt uncomfortable. On her first day in the He family, He-Chi's mother woke her up and asked her to cook. If it weren't for He-Chi, she would have scolded her. He-Chi pursed his lips. What are you thinking about? With my grades, I can't pass the exam. I feel dizzy just looking at the words. He-Chi wasn't fully awake. He pushed Yao Wenwen away and fell asleep under the blanket. He was used to sleeping in. If he didn't sleep, he would feel sleepy. Yao Wenwen was dumbfounded when she saw He-Chi sleeping on the bed. She couldn't help but wonder if Jiang Qian had faced He-Chi in the past. If Jiang Qian could get He-Chi to take the college entrance exam, then she could find a way to get He-Chi to do the same. Yao Wenwen, what are you waiting for? It's time to make lunch. Do you want to starve He-Chi to death? Mother He's voice came from outside, causing Yao Wenwen's face to twist. She took a deep breath and walked out. When she saw Mother He coming in with a hoe, she smiled. Got it, Mom. I'll cook right away. I don't know why you're dawdling all day. Are you like this at home too? Yao Wenwen didn't say anything. She quickly ran to the kitchen and started cooking. Mother He followed her in. After washing her hands, she said, You've been married for a month. You should be used to it. Come to work with me in the afternoon. When Yao Wenwen heard this, she felt like her entire body was about to split open. Go to work. She hadn't worked in the fields for almost a year. Mother He actually wanted her to work in the fields. She had painstakingly nurtured her fair skin and hands, but wouldn't they be crippled? However, Yao Wenwen was not a real little girl after all. She had been reborn, so she nodded obediently. Okay, Mom. She was the future wife of the richest man in the province. How could she possibly go to the fields? Mom, didn't you say that the college entrance examination has been reinstated? Why didn't they let Ah-Chi take the college entrance examination too? If Ah-Chi could be admitted to university, he would be assigned a job in the city in the future. It was said that he would also be assigned a house. When the time comes, our whole family can move to the city to live. It had to be said that Yao Wenwen's words did move Mother He. She asked in surprise, Can you really get a job and a house if you get admitted to university? That's right. Mom, you can ask the educated youth in the village. Yao Wenwen added, College students in this era are really valuable. It's not like the college students in the future are everywhere. It was true that they would be assigned jobs after graduation, but whether or not they could get a house would depend on their ability and unit. However, under normal circumstances, if there were no problems, they would be assigned a house to live in. In her previous life, she had specially asked around about Jiang Qian and He Qi. She knew that this was their situation. At that time, Jiang Qian was given a very large house and both parents were brought to the city to enjoy life. Then I'll go ask Mother. He went out in excitement and temporarily forgot about Yao Wenwen working in the fields. The Peak. Chapter 47-58. Yao Wenwen breathed a sigh of relief. She couldn't possibly do that. Even if she really had to do it, she had a way to stop Mother He from doing it. She wasn't going to let the He family do whatever they wanted to her. She couldn't avoid doing laundry and cooking, but she couldn't do it in this lifetime. Mother He only came back happily after Yao Wenwen finished cooking. Yao Wenwen looked at her and knew that she had heard something. During lunch, Mother He talked about getting into college and getting a house and a job. He Qi came to his senses and refused immediately. But this time, He Qi could only agree because Father He and Mother He were pressuring him. Wenwen, you'll be in charge of a Qi's revision in the future. Don't let him slack off, said Mother He. Yao Wenwen nodded quickly. This meant that she didn't have to do it anymore. She wondered if Jiang Qian had made Mother He agree in the same way. Otherwise, with He Qi's personality, how could he agree? Most likely, Father He and Mother He helped. Anyway, Yao Wenwen didn't think that it was Jiang Qian who helped He Qi up. 2 days later, Yao Wenwen was happy when she found out that Tang Guo wouldn't be taking the college entrance exam and would continue to teach. Sure enough, even if she didn't stop her, Tang Guo wouldn't be able to get into college. Maybe this was fate. What kind of future could a teacher have? Before Yao Wenwen could be happy, the people around her started to talk about how Jiang Qian and Tang Yu were going to take the college entrance exam. Now, they were revising every day. Yao Wenwen's expression didn't look good. They didn't let their own daughter take the exam, but let their daughter-in-law do it. Did something strange happen in the family? Yao Wenwen didn't know if it was out of jealousy, but she mentioned it when they were chatting. In short, it was all Jiang Qian's fault. This married sister-in-law actually bullied her sister-in-law. In less than a day, the news reached Tang Guo's ears. Before Tang Guo could explain herself, many people in the village spoke up for Tang Guo. It's not that the family Tang Club doesn't want teacher Tang to take the exam. I heard that everyone in the family Tang Club is persuading her to take the college entrance examination. I don't know who's talking nonsense. After nearly a year, Tang Guo had become a real teacher in the eyes of the villagers. They even called her Mr. Tang instead of Mr. Tang. Teacher Tang didn't participate in the college entrance exam because he couldn't let go of the students in the school. He was afraid that there would be no one to teach them. Ms. Tang also said that the college entrance exam is held every year. If a new teacher comes to the school in the future, she will continue to take the exam. I don't know what this gossiper is up to. I don't think he has any good intentions. He just wants to sow discord between the family and Tang families. Yes, it's very likely. I don't know whose mouth it came from. I heard it from Luli, but I know that Luli and Yao Wenwen are close. The aunties in other parts of the village also began to discuss, my son is 13 years old this year. If it wasn't for teacher Tang, he might not even know how to write his own name. Now, not only can he write his own name, but he can also write my and his father's names. Yes, I heard from my daughter that teacher Tang taught them very well. She even said that she would teach them all the knowledge so that they would be able to take the college entrance examination in the future. It's the village's blessing that teacher Tang can stay. No matter who is gossiping behind her back, I'll curse her to have a rotten tongue and a rotten mouth. If it doesn't rot, I'll tear it up for her. The Peak. Chapter 47:59. Yao Wenwen happened to be at the side. When she heard this, she subconsciously covered her mouth and left after a while. When she got home and thought of the previous scene, she couldn't help but stomp her feet. It was too hateful. Because of what happened last time, Yao Wenwen didn't dare to say anything. She didn't know why the villagers were so protective of Tanggua. She didn't know that not only the villagers were protective of Tanggua, but also the group of educated youths were protective of Tanggua. Some of them had lost their textbooks for so long that they had almost forgotten them. Someone suggested to find Tanggua with materials and gifts. Tanggua didn't refuse. Tanggua thought that if some of these people were classmates with Jiang Qian in the future, could she bring some talents back when she came back to help the poor? Even if they didn't come back, if they had achievements, they could use their connections. If a salted fish wanted to live comfortably, it naturally needed a good environment. She wasn't stingy to share her knowledge with these educated youths. She also called Jiang Qian and asked them to ask Jiang Qian when she wasn't around. Jiang Qian didn't mind. She was relatively free and had ideas in her heart. If these educated youths could remember the Tang family's kindness, even if there were only a few of them, her efforts would be worth it. As they got along, Jiang Qian picked a few of them who she thought had good characters and got closer to them. When she was free, she would give them special treatment. Tanggua knew about Jiang Qian's actions and didn't care about it. She wrote a lot of information questions and gave them to Jiang Qian. When Jiang Qian received them, she was a little shocked. Because the things that Tanggua wrote were more comprehensive than some of the information. Tangyu made rapid progress. He was indeed a good student, much better than many of the educated youths. With the help of Tanggua and Jiang Qian, he made rapid progress. Jiang Qian was in charge of the educated youths. Tanggua was mainly in charge of the students in the village and her second brother who didn't want to study. She didn't expect Tang Shi to really go to college, but she hoped that he could learn more so that he wouldn't be cheated in the future. As for the students in the village, she planned to brainwash them from a young age. He wanted them to finish learning their skills and quickly return to build their hometown. Even if their hometown was poor now, with everyone's hard work, they would definitely change this place. Her thoughts were very simple. Among this batch of students, there were one or two who would miss their hometown in the future. This wave of brainwashing was very worth it. System, you're an old salted fish the moment you open your mouth. You'll do anything to become a salted fish. Jiang Qian needed to revise, so Chen Yufan didn't let her learn how to make clothes. At present, Chen Yufan could still handle it. After all, there were only a few villages nearby. It was impossible for there to be happy events in the villages every day. However, when Chen Yufan finished making the daily clothes and asked Tanggua and Jiang Qian to wear them out, many young girls came to ask her to make clothes. Because of this, Chen Yufan smiled every day. In this case, even if there was one less person in the family to work in the fields in the future, the family's life would not be bad. Unknowingly, it was time for the college entrance examination. Those who worked hard to revise rushed to the examination hall nervously. There was a sea of people outside the examination hall. Tanggua accompanied Tang Yu and Jiang Qian. She also saw the He family, and Yao Wenwen was cheering for He Qi. He Qi looked indifferent, as if he wasn't interested in the exam. The people who took the exam went in, and the people outside instantly decreased a lot. Yao Wenwen walked in front of Tanggua. At this time, He Qi was not next to her. She was not afraid that Tanggua, this vixen, would attract He Qi's attention. The summit. Chapter 4760. Aren't your results good? Why didn't you take the college entrance exam? Yao Wenwen asked. Why did it have to be your brother and sister-in-law? Yao Wenwen's words were undoubtedly trying to sow discord. Jiang Qian didn't live the life she thought her sister-in-law deserved, which made Yao Wenwen feel very unbalanced. My sister-in-law wants me to take the exam with her, but I'm worried about the children in the village. Yao Wenwen felt uncomfortable. Is that so? She always felt that Tang Guo was too nice to Jiang Qian, so nice that she was a little annoyed. In her previous life, Tang Guo didn't treat her like this. She was neither cold nor warm to her. She didn't call her sister-in-law and treat Jiang Qian as family. When she was in the family Tang Guo wouldn't hold her hand. But just now, she clearly saw Jiang Qian holding Tang Yu's hand, and Tang Guo holding Jiang Qian's hand. Yes, I can take the exam every year. I'm not in a hurry. The village is poor, and I can't transfer a teacher over for a while. Hearing Tang Guo's words about being worried about the children in the village, Yao Wenwen was very disdainful. See, so what if some people have good results? Even if she didn't stop Tang Guo from taking the college entrance exam, she still couldn't take it. Wasn't this fate? Now she was looking forward to Tang Guo's ending when she married that coward. She just wanted to scare him a little, but that coward actually made Tang Guo abort the baby and divorce her. With Tang Guo's choice, she probably wouldn't be able to leave the village for the rest of her life. This time, the person who would marry the future richest man in the province was her, not Jiang Qian. When she came back to the village to help the poor, it was Jiang Qian who led them. Without Jiang Qian, the province's richest man wouldn't come back to help the poor. Tang Guo saw Yao Wenwen smile and didn't know what she was thinking, but she didn't bother to ask. The two of them stood at a distance and waited for a long time. The intense college entrance exam was over, and it was the most torturous time. At this time, many people in every village were looking forward to the results. As far as he could remember, Jiang Qian was the top student in the county. According to Tang Guo's understanding of Jiang Qian's results, the county's first place was a little underwhelming. But when he thought about what kind of person he was obviously not good at his studies, but in the end, he was forced to go to university. Jiang Qian must have spent a lot of effort on this. Tang Guo had been guessing about one thing. Once the scores were out, she would be able to prove whether her guess was correct or not. On the day the results were announced, Tang Guo saw the results and rankings. Jiang Qian, first place in the province. Tang Yu still lagged behind Jiang Qian because of the time limit. But in terms of ranking, he managed to enter the top 20 in the province thanks to Jiang Qian's help. In other words, Jiang Qian was the provincial champion this time. He, on the other hand, did not pass the exam. Seeing this result, Tang Guo knew that her guess was correct. In his previous life, the only person who could make He rich was Jiang Qian. If it wasn't for Jiang Qian's supervision, He, who was a loafer, would not be successful. I already said that I couldn't do it, but you guys insisted on me taking the exam. He pushed Yao Wenwen away. It's fine if I didn't pass the exam. You're not the one who took the exam. Why are you overreacting? I don't care. Yao Wenwen almost lost her voice. What was going on? Her memory should not be wrong. In her previous life, He did get into a university. Although it was an ordinary university, he really got into it. Chapter 4761. Could it be that there's something wrong with the results? You didn't mark the papers carefully, or you mixed something up? Yao Wenwen grabbed He and asked. He said impatiently, it shouldn't be wrong. I didn't write half of it, and some were scribbled. I feel sleepy just looking at it. I think this score is better than my usual score. Yao Wenwen looked at He Chi's poor score and almost fainted with anger. He didn't write half of it, and he still performed well. Was this the same He Chi who could get into a university? Was there something wrong with her memory? Yao Wenwen only cared about He Chi's score and forgot to ask about the others. It didn't take long for her to wake up and understand what was wrong. He Chi's grades were not good, but before the college entrance examination, Jiang Qian had been tutoring him. Yes, that should be the reason. He Chi didn't fail the exam, but there was no one with good grades to tutor him. She only cared about letting He Chi revise and forgot that he didn't have a good foundation. It seemed that he couldn't do anything by himself. Yao Wenwen's hope rose. She looked at He Chi's eyes as if they were shining. She gently hugged He Chi and encouraged him. "It's my fault, Chi. Actually, I understand that you didn't get a good tutor, so you couldn't pass the exam. You can revise for another year, and I'll ask Mom to hire a good tutor for you. Then you can pass the exam." That must be it. As long as He Chi reviewed seriously and had a good tutor, he would definitely pass the exam. He Chi was speechless. Was Yao Wenwen crazy? He didn't want to study at all. Why did he feel that Yao Wenwen was treating him as a tool that only knew how to study? Because of the college entrance examination, he hadn't slept in for a while. No, he didn't want to study. Wasn't his life good now? This Yao Wenwen really liked to mess around. Yao Wenwen, who woke up, also reacted and looked at the other people's scores. She didn't care about the scores of most of the people in the villages. She cared about Tang Yu and Jiang Qian the most. Before she could take a look, she saw someone hanging a banner with Jiang Qian's name written on it. The general idea was to congratulate Jiang Qian for being the provincial champion. At that moment, Yao Wenwen almost fell down. The provincial champion? Are you kidding me? Is this a test that you can take just because you want to? With the conditions of their village, how could they compete with the people in the city who had all kinds of review materials and a lot of time to review? However, the red cloth and black words were clearly written on it. It was Jiang Qian. On the other side, there was also Jiang Qian's introduction. All that was missing was a picture. It wouldn't be long before someone would take a photo of Jiang Qian. What made Yao Wenwen even more devastated was that Tang Yu was also admitted. Not only did he get in, but he also got a good ranking and entered the top 20 in the province. What kind of concept was this? Everyone who knew how many people in the province took the college entrance examination understood this concept. Tang Yu only studied in junior high. How could he do so well? Yao Wenwen lost her voice. She suddenly remembered that a few months ago, Jiang Qian had been tutoring Tang Yu every day. This matter had spread like wildfire in several nearby villages. In addition, according to Lu Li, when Tang Yu was working, Jiang Qian would read the text beside him. When Tang Yu was resting, she would immediately go to Jiang Qian to answer questions. This tutoring was simply abnormal. Under such bombardment, it didn't seem strange that Tang Yu got in. But his results were too good. Maybe it was just luck. Chapter 4762. Yao Wenwen guessed that Michelle had also treated He Chi like this in the past. He Chi was a little flustered by Yao Wenwen's gaze. Ever since Yao Wenwen urged him to revise every day, he had regretted getting married. If he hadn't gotten married, he could have slept until noon every day and asked his parents for some money to play in town. He wouldn't have been under Yao Wenwen's supervision every day. Now that he hadn't passed the exam, his parents were probably about to give up. His thoughts of going to town became active again. Tang Gui didn't know about Yao Wenwen's breakdown. The family Tang was very lively at the moment, and they were still receiving guests. Michelle had greatly honored the village chief of Shanghai. That day, The mayor came to express his concern and even gave them a bonus. The bonus was divided into two sums, one for Michelle and the other for Tang Yu. Tang Yu could only be ranked in the top 20 in the province, but in the city, county, town, and village, he was second. What was more interesting was that the two of them were husband and wife. A little publicity was already very eye-catching. Both Michelle and Tang Yu were very excited. Neither of them had expected such a day to come. After the guests dispersed, they came to Tang Gua and said, "Thank you, Tang Gua. If it weren't for your help, your brother and I definitely wouldn't have scored so unexpectedly. We're all family. You're good, and I'm good too." Tang Gua said nonchalantly. Her gaze fell on Tang Shi, who was sitting at the side. "Don't think that no one noticed you just because you're hiding at the side, Raymond." Tang Shi's face was about to crack. Why was she staring at him instead of looking at his brother and sister-in-law at a time like this? "Congratulations, brother, sister-in-law." Tang Shi quickly said, "Everyone in the village is proud of you now. Did you see how happy the village chief was just now?" Tang Yu nodded and patted Tang Shi on the shoulder. "You have to learn from Cherry, Pete. You're actually very smart. You won't score less than Justin in the future." "Yes, Pete, you have to work hard." Michelle encouraged him. Tang Shi was a little dumbfounded. He was kind enough to care about these two people, but they stabbed him in the back and told him to learn from Guogua. "Big brother, sister-in-law, don't worry. I will urge second brother to study. I will never let him be lazy," Tang Guo promised. Seeing Tang Shi's desperate look, she found it very funny. Tang Shi was good at everything, but he didn't want to study. She decided that from today onwards, she would use sound attacks in her lectures to Tang Shi. This seemed to be a talent that was engraved on her soul. It would definitely allow Tang Shi to remember all the knowledge. Regardless of whether Tang Shi was willing to take the test or not, there was nothing wrong with learning more. Tang Shi felt a chill run down his spine. His sister's gaze was very unfriendly. What should he do if he wanted to escape? Because Tang Yu and his wife were admitted to the same university, Chen Yufan happily held a celebration party for the two of them. Every day after that, Chen Yufan was all smiles. It wasn't until she sent the two of them to school that the village quieted down. No, it was deserted. Tang Yu and Michelle were the only ones from the village who were admitted to the university. However, most of the educated youths had passed the test and left. Those who didn't pass the test planned to take the test again next year. Tang Guo returned to teaching in school and occasionally listened to news from Yao Wenwen. He Qi didn't pass the test. Yao Wenwen thought that it was because He Qi didn't receive enough tuition, so she planned to persuade the He family to hire a tutor for him. After He Qi found out, he stole money from Mr. and Mrs. He and ran to town overnight. Tang Guo said, Yao Wenwen's suicidal move was very clever. We overestimated her. She's playing herself to death. The whole family is looking for him. They don't know which lady He Qi went to her house. He only came back after spending almost all his money. From that day on, Mr. and Mrs. He coaxed He Qi like a baby and never forced him to take the test again. Yao Wenwen was so anxious that the corners of her mouth were blistering. Chapter 4763. Yao Wenwen was about to die of anger. He Qi wasn't motivated and didn't want to study for the university entrance exam. Even his parents didn't force him. She talked until the corners of her mouth were blistered, but she couldn't convince the He family. She didn't think of giving up. She guessed that Jiang Qian also had such a life in her previous life. If Jiang Qian could successfully make He Qi the richest man in the province, why couldn't Yao Wenwen do the same? Early in the morning, before dawn, Mother He knocked on the door to wake Yao Wenwen up to cook. Yao Wenwen was full of complaints, but she didn't argue with Mother He for He Chi's sake. Don't force Ah Chi if he doesn't want to take the exam, Mother He said. Ah Chi lost a lot of weight recently. It's simply suffering. I don't think those university students are good. There are so many people taking the exam now. In the future, they'll have to leave their hometown. How can it be better than staying at home? Yao Wenwen said, university students are different. Mom, you'll understand in the future. I'm doing this for He Chi's sake. Don't think that the countryside is better now. You'll know in the future that the city is better. It was true that the villages were self-sufficient, but it had not changed much over the past few decades. There are so many opportunities now. Ah Chi has to seize them. Only then can he be at the forefront, Yao Wenwen said earnestly. Mother He was dissatisfied. Aren't you torturing Ah Chi? If you have the ability, why don't you take the exam yourself? Why must Ah Chi take it? A few months ago, Ah Chi didn't sleep well, but you didn't feel sorry for him. If you really have the ability, go take the exam yourself. If Yao Wenwen really had the ability, Mother He wasn't afraid that she would take the exam. She heard that the family Tang school in Shanghe village had 2 university students who received a lot of awards. There were awards from the province, city, county, town, and village. Even if each award wasn't a lot, it was a lot when added up. If Yao Wenwen could pass the exam, she would win glory for the He family. However, she knew very well that Yao Wenwen had the ability to seduce men, but she really couldn't study. If Ah Chi didn't like her, she wouldn't have agreed to let Yao Wenwen marry into the family. Fortunately, she was able to intimidate this daughter-in-law. If the other party had any thoughts, she would quickly get rid of them. In her hands, Yao Wenwen would not be able to do anything. Yao Wenwen was stumped by Mother He's question. She was going to take the test. He Chi's score in her previous life was not as high as the scores she had gotten in the previous exam. She felt a heartache. If her grades were as good as Jiang Qian's, she wouldn't have to keep an eye on He Chi. She could pass the exam herself and marry a big boss in the future. Wouldn't that be better? She stared at He Chi because with her current condition, the easiest way to get close to He Chi was to make a move on him. She did not expect He Chi to be so difficult to deal with. She wondered how Jiang Qian had managed to convince He Chi in her previous life. If Jiang Qian could do it, why couldn't she? Yao Wenwen lowered her head and cooked. She was not convinced. No, she had to make He Chi revise willingly. If He Chi did not get into a university, how could he become the richest man in the province in the future? After cooking, Yao Wenwen went to call He Chi to eat. Unexpectedly, when she opened the door, He Chi was gone. She quickly ran back to the kitchen and asked Mother He. Mother He was very calm. Ah Chi has something to do. He won't be eating breakfast. He asked me to tell you. Mom, why didn't you tell me before? Mother He said, if I told you, you would definitely stop him. Ah Chi was tired a while ago. Can't you let him rest? I've already asked the teacher. With his grades, he has no chance of getting into a university. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.